Good evening. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council in regular session. It is Monday, May 18th, 2026, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Parsons?
Here.
Councilor Kohler?
Here.
Councilor Cross?
Here.
Mayor Clark?
Here.
Council President Starr?
Here.
Councilor Christopher?
Here.
Councilor Duran?
Here.
Youth Councilor Gupto?
Here. Thank you. If you are able, I ask you to rise and all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, this is going to be a very special meeting tonight, and we're going to lead off with a proclamation for Jewish American Heritage Month. And it's my pleasure to welcome Rabbi Avraham Perlstein from Shabbat for Jewish Life to come forward. And I've asked him to come and share with us. And after that, I will issue the proclamation for Jewish American Heritage Month. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you for accommodating my schedule, too.
You're welcome.
For the past couple of years, I came here and I sounded the alarm on the rise of anti-Semitism. And I don't know so much that we thought we'd be where we are today, where you can't turn on a news station, read an article anywhere in a newspaper these days, without the Jews being bashed somewhere. And I conflate or I align Jews and Israel because you cannot take the two away from each other. I'm not going to sit here and do that again today. I think Jewish Heritage Month, though, is about recognizing the Jewish people's contribution to society, to America, and to the world. I think most people today, when they read the news, when they look around the world, there's so much brokenness, there's so much despair, there's a lot of hate, there's so much division. And people think that perhaps we're stuck in a cycle, a system that's cyclical, to where it might be different actors, but it seems to be the same thing all the time, as the saying goes. The more things change, the more they seem to stay the same. And there's a lot of people that are not sure what to say about the future. I think that one of the greatest contributions that the Jewish people have ever given to society and the world as a whole is a language that breaks a cyclical system. And I'm not going to quote from Jewish sources. I'm going to bring you a couple of readings from non-Jewish people who have written about this topic. For example, Thomas Cahill, in his book, The Gift of the Jews, writes, "All evidence points to there having been, in earliest religious thought, a vision of the cosmos that was profoundly cyclical. The assumption that early man made about the worlds were, in all their essential, little difference from assumptions that later or more sophisticated societies adopted, like Greece and India. They would all make more an elaborate manner of it, as Henry Charles don't even know how to say his name, but it starts with a P, says of Greek thought in his seminal Man and Time. He writes like this: no event is unique, nothing is enacted, and it will be enacted perpetually. The same individuals have appeared, appear, and will appear at every turn of the circle. The Jews were the first people to break out of this circle, to find a new way of thinking and experiencing, a new way of understanding and feeling the world. So much so that it may be said with some justice that this is the only new idea that human beings have ever had. But their worldview has become so much a part of us that at this point, it might as well have been written into our cells and our genetic code." He goes on to explain in his book, quite fascinatingly, how breaking the concept that the world runs on cycles rather than it runs on a linear system to where there's a beginning and an end. And I don't necessarily mean an end, a doomsday end, a positive end where humanity is progressing for the better, is very much a Jewish idea that has been so very regularly adopted by many groups. Yet a lot of the groups that adopt these ideas, where you find, let's say, in social justice circles, still claim that there is a system of lack of hope. We have to try, but it doesn't go anywhere. Thomas Cahill then continues later on in his book, and he writes, we can hardly get up in the morning or cross the street without being Jewish. And he talks about this as society. We dream Jewish dreams and hope Jewish hopes. Most of our best words, in fact, come from this entire idea of breaking a cycle. The words new, adventure, surprise, unique, individual, person, vocation, time, history, future, freedom, progress, spirit, faith, hope, justice are all gifts of the Jews. I think in a time like today, where so many people are not sure what the way forward is, hope is probably the greatest word that humanity needs to hold on to. We are not in a broken cycle. The world is not going, as they say, to hell in a handbasket. It's going towards a better place. If we believe that by ourselves as individuals, we can collectively work to make the world truly a better place. And I'll end with the following reading from Paul Johnson, The History of the Jews. He writes, no people have ever insisted more firmly than the Jews that history has a purpose and a humanity and a destiny. At a very early stage in their collective existence, they believed that they had detected a divine scheme for the human race, of which their own society had to be a pilot. They worked out their role in an immense detail. They cling to it with heroic persistence in the face of savage suffering. The Jewish vision became the prototype for many similar grand designs for humanity, both divine and man-made. The Jews, therefore, stand at the center of the perennial attempt to give human life the dignity of purpose. So I'm proud to accept this proclamation for all that we have done collectively for our beautiful country. I think that it is, our best days are ahead of us, primarily because of the good people that work every single day like yourselves to make this world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Jewish American Heritage Month celebrates the contributions Jewish Americans have made in the United States since 23 immigrants from Brazil first arrived in New Amsterdam in 1654 in search of better opportunities and made America their new home. And whereas the First Amendment to the United States Constitution states, quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, unquote, which creates the expectation that each of us shall have the freedom to openly practice and live out our faith in peace. And whereas as a religion and cultural minority in the United States, the contributions and experiences of Jewish Americans have often been omitted from our country's national narrative through bias, ignorance, anti-Semitism, and violence. And whereas on April 20th, 2006, President George W. Bush proclaimed that May would be Jewish American Heritage Month. And whereas despite facing persecution and racism through millennia, the Jewish people have continued to use their values and skills to contribute to the economic, faith, cultural, and governance strength and diversity of communities like Keizer. And whereas the people of Keizer desire to fully and authentically celebrate and honor the influence and achievements of Jewish Americans in our community and American society. Now, therefore, the Keizer City Council, assembled here in regular session, does hereby proclaim May 2026 as Jewish American Heritage Month. And we ask all the people of Keizer to join together in learning about and celebrating the tremendous achievements and contributions of Jewish Americans. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do a photo. Council, would you be willing to? Yes, please.
Come on, squeeze in.
You're short. Sorry, you're short.
You were actually shorter than she is.
I am not. Oh, but you are. No, I'm not. Don't tell him that I have big black. Oh, I will kill him. See, okay, look.
She was hiding.
At 5 and 4. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We're going to continue our special orders of business tonight with a proclamation for Gold Star Families Month. And here to make that presentation is our own Matt Lawyer.
All right, good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, staff. I have 6 pages of notes and 39 slides. That is not a joke. But Adam told me I had to be done quickly, and I will be, I promise. But this deserves our time, and I think these notes will be brief, but I wanted to take you down a little bit of a memory path of what we've done here in Keizer. For the record, my name is Matt Lawyer. I had the opportunity to be the co-project lead for Keizer's Gold Star Family Memorial Monument, Oregon's first Woody Williams Gold Star Family project here in the city of Keizer. Some projects begin with a budget, a plan, or a formal directive. This one began with something far more important. It began with an ask from families who had already given more than most of us can fully comprehend. This is a story of a promise made by a community, a promise kept by the people of Keizer. It started here. Gold Star families came forward not asking for recognition for themselves, not asking for a place for themselves, but for a place to remember, a place to honor, and a place where sacrifice would not be forgotten. And in that moment, an opportunity became something much bigger. It became a responsibility. It became a promise. This was the location. Once a beautiful fountain, it had become a desert fountain in the middle of PFC Ryan J. Hill Park. However, our community saw something more. This would become sacred ground. No meaningful project like this happens on its own. It requires a partnership. A partnership was formed between the City of Keizer, the Keizer Rotary Satellite Club, and the Keizer Gold Star Families Memorial Monument Committee. What began as an ask now had a team committed to turning promise into action. So we got to work. Progress rarely looks glamorous in the beginning, just dirt, demolition, and the first signs that something meaningful is underway. But foundations matter, and this project would be built on more than concrete. It would be built on commitment. With the demolition complete, we formally dedicated ourselves to the work ahead. Even the ceremonial moments mattered. They marked the beginning of something much larger than construction. Community members showed up, families showed up, and Keizer did what Keizer does best. We rallied. Support came through conversations, events, partnerships, and people willing to say yes. Fundraising happened the way that community fundraising always does. One event, one conversation, one act of generosity at a time. And then major support came from partners who understood that this monument really meant. This became bigger than any one organization. State partners, local businesses, and community supporters stepped forward because remembrance matters. This slide here matters because every individual came forward understanding that it wasn't going to happen through good intentions alone. It happens because donors understood that remembrance matters enough to invest in it. And these kinds of projects happen because volunteers give something equally valuable: their time, their labor, and their hearts. This promise was carried by many hands. And then the work became real. We began to deliver on our promise. Construction began to take shape. The details, I had to put my kid in there, bad choice. The details mattered. Progress happened because people showed up ready to work. Concrete replaced empty space. Flagpoles were raised. And I want to take a minute here. Woody Williams was at the Battle of Iwo Jima, and I didn't catch this until I put this photo in this slideshow. So it's kind of like Woody speaking through this moment. And suddenly you began to see it coming through. But monuments are not just built by contractors. They're built by volunteers, by neighbors, and people who understand and believe that remembrance matters. And these kids.
They get you every time.
I don't even know most of these kids. The next generation stepping up because they also understand that it matters. Scout troop showed up in just like in hours, did so much work. They were amazing. I knew 2 of all these kids. They were incredible. Piece by piece, the promises became visible, and the pieces began to come together. Then came the most significant of the moments, the arrival of the monument itself. Carefully, deliberately, respectfully, setting into place something that could outlast all of us. A promise delivered. What began as an ask became this: a permanent place of remembrance for Gold Star families. A place that tells a story about sacrifice, service, family, and freedom. A place where Gold Star families know they are seen, honored, and never forgotten. A place for quiet reflection. Because Keizer honors its promises and honors our nation's Gold Star families, monuments are not simply stone and steel, but concrete, but their true foundation here in Keizer began with the promise. It is a promise made visible, a promise that sacrifice borne by our nation's Gold Star families is and will always be remembered. A promise that Keizer will honor their loved ones, their sacrifice, and the cost of freedom. A promise that will stand beside these families, not just today, but forever. We will say their names, we will tell their stories, we will remember. Thank you, Keizer.
Thank you. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Gold Star families are those who have lost a loved one who was on active duty in service to the United States Armed Forces, bearing a profound and enduring sacrifice on behalf of our nation. And whereas Gold Star families memorial monuments, established through the vision of Herschel Woody Williams and the Woody Williams Foundation, provide permanent places of remembrance, reflection, and education for communities to honor fallen service members and their families. And whereas on February 7th, 2026, the city of Keizer became the first community in the state of Oregon to establish a Gold Star Families Memorial Monument, demonstrating leadership in honoring and supporting Gold Star families from Oregon and across the nation. And whereas the success of this monument was made possible through meaningful collaboration through the city of Keizer and the Keizer Rotary Satellite Club, along with an Oregon Parks and Recreation Department Veteran and War Memorials Grant, generous local businesses, community partners whose shared commitment brought together public leadership, volunteer coordination, fundraising, and community engagement to turn vision into reality. And whereas the Gold Star Families Memorial Monument serves as a lasting, visible reminder that the cost of freedom is carried not only by those who serve, but by the families who continue to live without loss. And it provides a dedicated space where those families are seen, acknowledged, and supported. And whereas the monument also serves as an enduring educational role as a place to learn about the sacrifices made by service members and their families, strengthening civic understanding and appreciation for those who serve. And whereas by investing in this effort, the City of Keizer affirms that honoring Gold Star families is not a one-time event, but an ongoing responsibility to remember, to support, and to stand alongside those who have given so much. And whereas designating the month of May as Gold Star Families Month provides an opportunity for all residents of Keizer to reflect, remember, and express appreciation for those families. Now therefore, the Keizer City Council assembled here in regular session does hereby proclaim May 2026 as Gold Star Families Month in the City of Keizer and encourages all residents to honor Gold Star families through remembrance, education, and acts of gratitude. Thank you. Matt Lawyer.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. They don't make me taller than Shani. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Do you want me to get the star out?
Get the shorties. She's so cute. Come on. Where is he? Oh, you want me here? Right here. You'd think that was a Polaroid or something. I know, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Lawyer.
Oh, yes. Good job, lady.
And now some of you may have noticed that there's these little puffy gifts up here, and we've got a special presentation. We have been honored to have the service of Felicia Guptill as our youth counselor for this school year. Tonight is her last meeting in that role, and it's our opportunity to honor and thank her for her service as our youth counselor for this year. Has done an outstanding job. Felicia, I'd love to hear from you, and then I'm going to give each of the counselors an opportunity to say a few words about your service. Felicia?
Well, I wasn't prepared for anything to say, but I just want to say, thank you so much, all of you guys, because it's honestly been amazing to me how much work each of you guys, putting into our community. So just thank you so much for everything you do, because I feel like oftentimes we come in here and we're these angry people who want everything to change right away. And honestly, this year it's been pretty amazing to see the amount of work that you guys do to try to make our community a better place and a safer place. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Felicia. Counselor Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I got the pleasure of sitting by Felicia for half that time, and she knew how to ask the questions, and then she would, can I ask this? Yeah, you can ask that. I mean, she was fantastic. She really got involved, and I said, when you turn 18, you can run for city council. So.
That's true.
But she said she didn't think so. Thanks, Felicia.
Counselor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When I heard that Felicia was putting an application in to be the youth liaison for the council, I thought, oh, how great. I know how important government and civic affairs are to her and her family, and to have her sitting here being a part of all this has been just tremendous. It tells a lot about her, tells a lot about her family and how she's been raised. And it's just been a joy and a pleasure to have you here. Hope that we see you back in these chambers in another few years after you get some education behind you. It's been great. Thank you.
Counselor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just adore you. I love your smile. You're infectious, your energy, and you just have this great grit about you. And you are just wonderful, and I can't wait to see what the future has in store for you. And we have been so blessed to have you here, so thank you.
Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Felicia, you have brought such a great perspective to many of our conversations on the various topics. I applaud you for not being afraid to ask the questions, and never lose your voice, and always follow your heart. Thank you for your time with us.
Councilor Christopher.
Thank you. So I remember the first night, and the mayor was going down and asking anybody have any questions. Your very first night, you said, well, I've got a couple. And I thought, holy moly, that is courage on her very first night. And then you didn't stop. You kept asking questions. You were one of the most engaged student counselors that I've been involved with. And I thought you did a great job. And I was hoping your mom, I would just say, they're probably watching from home. So Scott and Celeste, great job. And now you've got what, 11 more? We'll look forward to them coming through as well. Great job. There's wonderful things that's going to happen in your life because you're going to make it happen.
Councilor Duran.
I too have been extremely impressed with your comments and your questions, and the questions that you ask are not only from a perspective of a high school student, they are a perspective of
A regular person?
I mean, anybody in the city. So you think way beyond your years, and your questions are way beyond your years, or at least a lot of them, and your understanding of how things work is amazing. So not only the things that you've asked in here, but I know the things that you've talked to your parents about and they've asked me about is just amazing. And your parents have done a great job, and you have done a great job being here. And I believe you have made a difference for people watching. So it's been wonderful having you here.
I agree. Good job.
So what are your college plans?
Yeah, so I will, in the fall, I'll just be doing Grand Canyon University online. So I'll still be in the community, and then I'm going to continue to teach piano. So I'll be getting a degree in communications. So
Of course you.
Wonderful. Well, I want to echo.
Great piano teacher, by the way.
I want to echo what everybody has said. You have been very engaged. I have loved your questions, your comments, your thoughtfulness. You have, I don't know if inside you always felt comfortable, but you decided to lean in and do the work. And you also got other experience to help make this experience as meaningful as possible. I also understand you've been recruiting other people and encouraging them that this is a worthwhile endeavor for their time and to get engaged. So thank you for being a leader, an example, and for also blessing our time together this year. We wish you all the best, and it's going to be my pleasure to present you with this certificate, a small token of our appreciation, and all of our best wishes in your future. Ladies and gentlemen, Youth Counselor Felicia Guptill.
I hate to see her go.
Can I get a picture?
She was really good.
Council, come on. This is a group effort.
Good, Dan.
The only one.
Here, Dan.
Squeeze in.
Oops, sorry. Are you good? Okay, are we good? Marlene? Okay, she's the short one.
Suck it in.
Thank you. Great job, Felicia. Thank you.
Does yours say anything?
Well, this is a special night indeed. To wrap up under special orders of business, we will now hear from Keizer Community Fields Association and their biannual report. So if you will come on down, and good to see you.
So while Nick is making his way up, I'll introduce him. Nicholas Wells joined Keizer Community Fields Board, I believe, was it January?
The end of January, yes.
The end of January. So he has been doing a great job of, he's doing a great job for the organization. I'm going to let him tell his own story, but I think they're on a good trajectory under his leadership. And so without further ado, there you go, Nick.
Thank you for the introduction. You guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
So there's not enough for everybody. I apologize, I had no idea. I looked at the website and there were 7 counselors, so there's a lot more people. So I have a prepared statement, but before that, I'd like to say I've never had the pleasure and the honor to stand in these chambers. Thank you very much for the invitation. As a resident of Keizer, everything that I've seen so far in this meeting has made me quite proud. I am a veteran of Foreign War member, and I had no idea about the dedication tonight. And I will say, that that means a great deal to me and to my brothers and sisters that I served with overseas. Many of us have come home not quite whole, and sometimes it takes decades to become Gold Star families. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support. With that, dear members of the Keizer City Council, on behalf of the Keizer Community Fields Association, I would like to provide an update regarding our organization, recent operational changes, and our vision moving forward as we continue working in partnership with the City of Keizer to support and maintain our community athletic fields. KCFA has always existed to serve the youth, families, and athletic organizations that rely on these fields every day. Since 2024, we have worked to provide quality facilities while building a strong foundation for the long-term sustainability of our field complex. As we continue to evolve, our organization is taking meaningful steps to improve operations, strengthen accountability, and increase financial support dedicated specifically to field preservation, maintenance, and continued service to our community. Recently, KCFA made the decision to switch from a general manager paid employee operational style to a volunteer board of director-led operation style. In light of this change, the organization is now operating entirely through volunteer leadership and support. While this transition represents a significant operational shift, we believe it creates an opportunity to become more efficient, community-driven, and financially responsible. The feedback we have received from community members and city employees has been 100% positive so far that we are aware. As part of this restructuring, KCFA intends to implement a hybrid custodial and maintenance approach. We are currently pursuing local, cost-effective custodial services to assist with facility cleaning and upkeep 2 to 3 times per week, as well as an on-needed basis. Remaining day-to-day surface-level custodial responsibilities will be managed by member volunteers through a structured schedule designed to ensure accountability and consistency. In addition, we have addressed maintenance concerns raised by the city as they have been identified and remain committed to improving field conditions and operational standards. KCFA is actively working towards developing a highly trained volunteer field maintenance team. To ensure proper oversight and quality control, all participating volunteers will be approved and signed off on by Robert, Division Manager of Parks in the Public Works Department, prior to performing maintenance responsibilities. Financial sustainability also remains a major priority for our organization. KCFA is proposing the addition of new membership reservation costs, specifically intended to increase contributions to the sinking fund. This approach allows members to take a more direct role in protecting and supporting the long-term future of our home fields. Based on our current projections, we expect these operational and financial changes to result in at least a fourfold increase in contributions to the sinking fund. This projection does not yet include additional anticipated revenue opportunities, such as field sponsorships or fundraising events, including a golf tournament currently in development. We believe these changes represent an important step forward to KCFA and demonstrate our commitment to responsible stewardship, community involvement, and partnership within the city of Keizer. Our goal is not only to maintain the fields entrusted to us today, but to build a sustainable operational model that benefits the community for years to come. We appreciate the continued support and collaboration of the City Council and city staff, and we look forward to continuing to work together in service of the Keizer community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the work of you and everybody who has been involved with the Keizer Community Fields. Just out there yesterday, seeing people out on the fields using them, that's the joy, that's the payoff. Looking to counselors for questions on the report. Okay, Council President Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much for your report. I think this maybe goes to Mr. Brown because it's clarifying a couple of items that are in the staff report. But it states that a profit and loss statement will be distributed at the meeting, and then also a memo and list of users has been included in the packet. Did I miss both of those?
So because...
I'm sorry.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
that's not what I was expecting in terms of a profit and loss, so.
For sure.
My apologies.
Let me clarify a little more. Generally speaking, the profit loss statement should look like total amounts quarterly, annually, Q1 through Q4, et cetera. We are still compiling that information. At this time, we do not have, with the transition, we do not have every line item budgeted. Unfortunately, that has not been done. We are working on it now. So since I've come in, and starting in April, we have a functioning board again for the first time. And so we're just getting started. And I'm sure Adam can bring a little more of that to light. But as far as how we were operating in the past, the general manager was pretty much kind of running everything and was not receiving any oversight from the board and wasn't really receiving any help from the board either. Now, the prior board members have admitted that and resigned or not ran for re-election. Since I have come in, we have completely started 100% following the bylaws, following ORS Chapter 65, which governs nonprofits, and we are compiling all the information via the bank accounts. It's not going to be too much longer. A lot of the work that we have been doing has been trying to play catch up, trying to get our house in order. So I will have very, very detailed profit loss statements for you. Right now, the P&L that we have to current is positive $22,681.42, far below the expectations per the contract that you guys had received, that we had executed with you. Now, if we look at what I have been able to compile here based on the bank account, there have not been receipts that I have access to. There's not a ton of information other than invoices that I can find in Square and bank statements that I'm trying to draw the two together with. So there are quite a few items here unaccounted for as of yet. So I tried to detail that in the others category under expenses, and we will get all of that information as soon as we vote to buy the software to implement that. And it won't take long. There's only about 230 invoices that we've done. So once we get QuickBooks or something similar, and the board decides on that, I imagine we can move through that very quickly and have those numbers for you. As far as the pie chart here that you can see, we're looking at, with the restructuring, if we had been running on our new model the entire time, it looks, as per our contract, we would be about in line with the money you're expecting to receive. So $80,942.21 all in between cost of insurance and taxes goes into our payroll costs alone. Any additional questions?
Follow up?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for that detailed explanation. I appreciate you saying that you're going to get that done, but when?
That's a great question. Right now, our treasurer is on emergency leave because of a surgery that he had to undergo. So I don't have the executive authority to just purchase software and make that decision. I plan to meet with him shortly, as soon as he's physically able, and then we can vote to do that. As far as when, I don't think it'll be more than a month from that purchase date.
Okay, so another follow-up.
Follow up? Just one more?
Yeah, there might be a few more.
That's fine, yeah. We've really had to dig through this as well ourselves,
Yeah.
so we're
And
just getting started here.
so I'm
Remember,
going-
I was not here before, and so the board is new and I am very new, and we're working hard to do it correct.
That's great, thank you. I assume you're going to put some policies, practices, procedures in place to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm sure, I'm making an assumption, that staff is going to make sure that that's been done. And then, so another one of my questions is, are you having your books reviewed by an outside party, given the significant transition?
We will.
Who
We
is
have not
that
yet.
and when?
We have not yet. Again,
you
I
have-
can't I can't make that decision myself
Are you
without,
having a review or an audit?
not at this time until we can do that. We're going to third party our books out to somebody once we get that software, drag and drop, and then they will handle that so that the treasurer's hand will be off the day-to-day managing of the books, and then we'll have a third party bookkeeper.
But that's not, my question is, are you going to have the books reviewed, your financials reviewed by an outside party? Not handled by an outside party, but are you going to have a review or an audit of prior to up until a current point?
Yeah, we're going to have to do that. I mean, we have a scheduled meeting with an attorney to try and figure out everything that we should be doing, how we should be filing. It looks like this wasn't properly set up in the first place, and so per the way that it's operating, and trust me, your concerns are absolutely warranted. I stepped into this and I am doing the best that I can to try and pull it back and be as transparent as possible and as open as possible. And I think that, I've been that way with the city employees as well. And so I don't disagree with your concerns. I share them. I just don't have, I've literally only had access to almost all of this since April 28th, some of it, and May, others. So to pull this together this quickly has been a lot of volunteer hours, and I will continue to do that, and we will get this squared away in a very timely manner. Some things are outside of my control.
I think that what you're seeing in terms of my questions, and probably for anyone that knows me, the look on my face, is that this is probably seems to be a more severe dire situation than maybe what we were aware of. So I apologize for sounding alarmed, but it is alarming.
I'm alarmed.
So-
I don't think
And I
that you're,
have one question for staff. What was the meeting and the report out date that staff were supposed to be meeting with Keizer Community Fields Association?
Quarterly, and meeting quarterly reports, and then meeting with you, the city council, biannually.
And so
So
did
you'll
those quarterly meetings or quarterly reports happen?
The quarterly reports got caught up, but they were not great.
What do you mean they got caught up? Like they were behind?
Yeah, they got
How far
behind.
behind were they?
We got 3/4, I think, at once.
And when we weren't getting those quarterly reports, do we put them on notice? Do we give them a notice of concern? What's the practice when we're not getting what
Yeah.
we're,
I will say there was, I didn't get to them right after the first one, but I'd have to look back at the dates. But at some time, I think it was fall of last year, I said, we need to get caught up on these quarterly reports. And so Rebecca spent some time, put things together. And on its surface, it looked okay, but there were other dynamics that were going on, interpersonal dynamics on their board. And they're like, I don't know, I've talked to Nick almost daily.
just about,
Over the last, through like 6 weeks or so.
not even 6 weeks, probably since less than 4 weeks, we're in pretty regular communication. So, I think that everything that you're alarmed about, as you said, to quote you, I agree with. I had these alarms. We discussed these concerns. I've discussed them with Carrie as well. We've had several meetings. I met with Robert out for a couple hours so that we could ensure that the city is satisfied. I agree that there have been issues. And I will tell you, even since I've come on, and even since I've been able to have access to the bank account and see what's going on, I'm kind of running ragged, trying to do all of that myself and reorganize everything. I absolutely love your suggestion, Councilwoman, to get that reviewed, third party. I'm embarrassed to say it hadn't even occurred to me. I kind of just thought that once the treasurer was back, we would go ahead and have him go through that, and then we would hand it to the bookkeeper for them to review. So we absolutely should do that. And so, I mean, in the interest of full disclosure, no, I never thought about doing it. I figured there was only 230 roughly invoices, and the bank account transactions are not a ton, given that it's only, September 2024? So we're happy to do that.
thank you. Madam Mayor, this is a significant resource of the Keizer community. And I would like to request that we have a work session on this issue. I know we're still under special orders of business, so I would appreciate having a work session scheduled as soon as possible to discuss the concerns and the issues, as well as to develop a plan of response that city, whether that meaning staff will take when an entity that we have a contract with falls short of the expectations, whether it's by their bylaws or whether it's by the contract that's been entered into with the city, because this is, I'll just say the word again, alarming. And
May I ask what you're most alarmed about?
all of it.
Okay, so what I'm concerned with was, as far as the contract, what I wanted to present is the fact that we acknowledge that we're about $100,000 shy on meeting that goal. Had we been operating at the whole time, the way that we're planning to operate moving forward, we would have achieved those numbers quite easily. And that's right here. That's 100% provable. And on top of.
Mr. Wells, I
Go ahead.
appreciate that. I'm not, I don't, this
Yeah.
isn't the time to get into a back and
Sure.
forth. I would just encourage the organization to go back and review your bylaws because it wasn't, shouldn't have been all on the shoulders of a paid employee.
I agree.
believe that there were requirements from all the members that had entered into and were part of the Keizer Community Fields Association. So as somebody who was was put here on the dais by our community to be, to have oversight and be responsible for the resources that are owned by the residents of Keizer. Like, I appreciate the work that you're doing, but I think what I'm hearing from you is that there's fault and blame to go all the way around, not just on a single person.
I have not targeted anybody, but
Well,
I
that
will
might
say.
be, I might have a different opinion of
Okay.
that. But what I'm saying is that I think there is enough blame to go all the way around for all the parties involved. And so I appreciate your explanations, but my request stands for a work session because we cannot allow a gem of a resource such as the fields at Keizer Rapids Park to get to this point ever again.
I agree 100%.
Thank you.
I would respectfully request to participate in that.
It's a work session. Everybody's invited.
So
Thank
well,
you
we
very
will
much.
take up the scheduling of that. Actually,
Sooner than later, yeah.
I have that under agenda input because what we have been discussing what this looks like going out to the end of the year. So we will have to look at that layout for the other ones that have been scheduled. So put a pin in that until agenda input. I'm gonna go Counselor Christopher and then I'll circle back. So,
Thank you. So, Nick, who's helping
Yes.
you?
I beg your pardon?
Have we traded one person for another one person? Or do you have support people around you?
I do have support people. We're forcing the members to actually, to your point, do what they are supposed to do, to actually, through the schedule, start volunteering. And we are receiving that volunteer work now. My understanding is that was the original intent that the
Yeah.
council had, is that those members would be participating in that.
Yeah.
And at this
didn't work
time, they
without
are,
it.
I beg your pardon?
It doesn't work without it.
Correct, yeah. And so at this time, that's happening. And as a result, now that we're seeing members and we're bringing on additional members who are willing to scrub toilets and change toilet paper and clean, as I've been out there cleaning the toilets nearly every day, and it's functioning quite well. The not the city manager, the Parks Division manager said that the bathrooms have not been cleaner. They're perfect, in his words. He said he is absolutely delighted to see the changes that are happening. The trash has been picked up and the field is now being swept, that I've been trained on that. And more training is to come.
More,
So,
Kathy.
go ahead.
Okay.
Follow up.
Great, thank you. So what's your connection to the field? Do your kids play on that field?
My children do, yes. I am president of the fields, but I'm also one of the members. So my children are in the competitive soccer program at
Great.
Mid-Valley Soccer Club.
Great. How old are your kids?
My daughter is 10 in June 17th, and my son is 11 and a half.
Great. So you'll be with us a while.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next.
With your permission, yes.
Okay, so and then my last question is past experience. Do you have any past experience with organizations like this?
Yes, ma'am.
You do?
So, yes, I've been on several boards. I've actually sold quite a few water meters to the city of Keizer. I deal with municipalities regularly. Currently, I have resigned on good terms from General Pacific where I sold the water meters. I have lung cancer and I'm trying to do that, which is why I have the time to dive into all of this and take care of all this. So you can understand the cancers from the deployment. So that's why this monument means a great deal to me. So
Great. So let me tell you, we're happy to meet you.
Thank Thank you, ma'am.
It sounds like we're darn happy to meet you, and it's going to be great having a work session. So thank you for your efforts. This is real important to us. We've invested, when all told, we've got $8 million in that facility. So we're going to be your biggest fans, and we're going to have a work session and figure out together how you move forward in success.
Well, I will take my cues from this council because this is a treasured item for the city of Keizer. I personally think it's the nicest thing in town. Maybe I'm partial because my beautiful children play there, but I love the fields and I'm at the fields all the time. And now I'm out there daily, although a lot of that is spent with gloves on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilor Duran, did you have anything?
No, I'll wait till the work session.
Okay. And then anybody else on this side? Okay, Councilor Cross, last questions.
Okay, thank you for being here, thank you for your service and sacrifice. Because of previously what you said.
I didn't hear
Okay,
that last thing you
the
said. I
things that I heard that were
apologize.
concerning, Council President Starr said a lot of them. I heard a lot of not yet. That is very concerning. We were all here when we went through the initial setup of this. I heard was poorly set up, wasn't properly set up. I thought we all did a really good job properly setting this up, so I'm gonna put this out there. I feel like there's things that we haven't done and that, we saw how that went with the Little League fields, okay? And then we're kind of digging ourselves out of that. I would hate for this to happen again. I really think there has to be some kind of professional experience besides just volunteers when it comes to those fields. It is a game of Tetris. It isn't just, Dan, that's a professional in funerals, going to manage the turf fields.
Only if we're going to bury it.
Yeah, only if we're going to bury it. Well, I'm just saying that it does take a little bit of finesse. Thank you for being right here on my right hand. And I see Rebecca in the audience. I'd like to hear what Rebecca has to say about this.
We'll have to do that at the work session.
Okay, well, I'd like her to think about it and her talking points, because if there are some learning moments to be had, we need to grab onto those learning moments.
Thank you very much. So this will be an opportunity for the work session. I think we've now outlined what we want to do when we did our initial work session, working on the initial contract, where we at, what are lessons learned, what's the plan going forward, and because there was a couple of things. One, we want to make sure that these were sustainable going forward, both financially and physically. So it's a good check-in and make sure that we're making course corrections as needed. Okay? So this will go to a work session.
Thank you so much. In closing, I'd just like to say that I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I hope that I will receive, as a very, very new bring-on to this organization, a little grace that I don't have any control over anything that happened in the past, but I absolutely will work very, very, very hard towards the future.
That's the direction.
Thank you.
We're going forward. Thank you very much. That concludes special orders of business for tonight. We're going to go to committee reports. I don't have any of our committee reports. Nobody signed up. Are there any committee reports here? Larry? Mr. Porter?
Good evening, everybody. Forgive me if I look exhausted, because I am. I'm getting ready to have surgery in a few hours. So I come to you from the Keizer CDEC, bringing you a short, excuse me, minutes from our meeting that we had at the beginning of the week. And it's the members deferred its recent off-site meeting and discussed ways to improve future outreach efforts. The All Nations Day event was renamed to Keizer Culture Celebration. The committee voted unanimously to remove the bullion letter action item from its agenda because it did not fall within the committee's preview under the Appendix A of the resolution. The committee would discuss a possible recommendation to recognize October as National Bully Prevention Month at the June meeting. Committee members received donate copies of the book Advocacy and Action to Support Future Discussions on Community Engagement and Meaningful Dialogue.
That's a great book. All right. Any questions for Mr. Porter?
No.
All right. Oh, Counselor Christopher?
Not a question, but you didn't mention your little cards are out. We got them printed, and these are the recruitment cards, part of CDEC. This was on their work plan. They look great. They look great, and you were passing them out at Keizer Fest all over. So I just wanted to say, great job. Check one thing off your work plan. Good job.
Forgive me for that. I apologize.
Did a great job, Barry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. All right. Anyone else here for committee report? Mr. Lawyer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just real quick for Clyde Creek Watershed Council, this weekend, Saturday, is Soggy Day in the Park. It's going to be a great event, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And, we're still allowing people to come. So if you want to set up a booth, you can't sell anything, but you can bring an information booth. And if you want to promote your business, you're welcome to do so. This year's event is brought to us by Arrows Home Air, Willamette Valley Bank, Arbauer Insurance, and Ross Junk Removal. So they all chipped in to help make it work. We're going to have the bounce house, boat rides, backhoe. Super excited to text Robert Johnson today. I said, we got the backhoe again, right? He goes, absolutely. It wouldn't be Soggy Day without it. So we're really looking forward to that event again this year. We staged it kind of in two separate areas to get it sort of away from the boat ramp to not clog it up. It's going to be a beautiful Saturday. And so we'll be up by the amphitheater again this year. Parking will be up in that area. We'll have the booths and stuff set up there. And then Mark Callier will be out with his boat doing the boat rides. And so just encourage people to come out there. We have Miller's Barbecue will be providing free food, first come, first serve. Probably starting around 10:30, 11 o'clock. And then Gracie's Sweets and Treats will be out there again this year, giving away, I think, ice cream cones. Again, first come, first serve. Please, if you're a neighborhood group, if you're a business, if you're a arts hub or something that would like to come out and put a booth up, it doesn't cost you anything. You're welcome to just come and promote what you got and the great things you do in Keizer. Shoot me an email, shoot me a text, get a hold of Tammy or Jackie or anybody associated with the Watershed Council. We'd love to have you out, or just show up and we'll find you a nice pitchy tree to put you under. So 10 to 2, yes, ma'am.
10 to 2, yeah.
So really appreciate the city, always allowing us to do this. It's such a great event and people really love it, so.
It's a lot of fun. All right, and then Trashy Tuesdays are going to start in June for the partnership with Clyde Creek and our environmental division. So watch for that on Facebook.
And not to put Lieutenant on the spot, but we're still waiting to hear if the PD's coming or not.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Lawyer? All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate
See you there.
it.
Thanks.
All right. At this point, I'd like to invite up Jessica Blakely from Salem Housing Authority. Last couple of years, we've had some conversations about Salem Housing Authority, which encompasses all of the Salem, Keizer, UGB area, and how Keizer can more engage with this housing authority, which does cover Keizer. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Glad to be here. Hello, Mayor and council members. My name is Jessica Blakely. I'm the Deputy Director for Salem Housing Authority. And as Mayor has alluded, we do serve the city of Keizer within the Salem-Keizer UGB. I brought just a couple updates. Last year, I actually came here to talk about our Public Housing Authority plan and our capital fund plan that's out. The public hearing for that is going to be on May 26th at the Laux Auditorium. So definitely welcome any Keizer members, please join us if you're interested. The plan is currently out for public comment. If you go to our website at www.salemhousingor.com and go to our plans and policies and our 2026 draft documents. Some really important Keizer considerations. Last time I was here, I came to tell you about our affordable homeownership opportunities that we're trying to set up, and there are 4 homes within the Keizer area that we will be putting into that program. 2 of them we actually look to be transferring to Habitat for Humanity by the end of this year or early next year to get those started as affordable homeownership opportunities for Keizer families. We also started tracking specific Keizer data. We don't know exactly what the council wants to hear, so we're very much open to hearing your feedback or any Keizer residents on what would be important for the Salem Housing Authority to share. But some that we brought today is that we actually have 118 vouchers currently used within the Keizer, city of Keizer. And that's an average housing assistance payment or rent assistance payment per household of almost $1,000 each one. The total housing assistance payments we provide to the city of Keizer residents is $117,945. Your average household family is 2, and we serve a total of 245 Keizer residents under our assistance. So our communications person is here tonight as well. We're just trying to gather information on things that would be important for Keizer to hear about. As far as the Salem Housing Authority is concerned, we do put out a program management report each month, which talks about our different programs that we offer, different things we do around the community. And as we started to come last year, we realized that we've left Keizer out of the conversation a little bit, but we'd love to bring you into it. Very happy to engage in any way that makes sense. Some of the things that I do specifically for the city of Salem is I provide some feedback on the federal budget and how that impacts things. I can bring back a little presentation to explain how we receive our money from the federal government, what some of those tricky things mean. Right now, there's a lot of conversation about the Road to Housing Act and then the Senate version and what does that mean. There's a lot of things that HUD's putting out right now that can be confusing and hard to navigate. And I'm happy to bring back any information that you'd like disseminated and really applied. What does that mean here locally? I do all of our legislative advocacy, both local, federal, and statewide. So I'm happy to bring back any information there. So really, this is just a, hey, it's good to see you again. It's been a year since I've been here, and we're happy to come as often as you want. I checked your council calendar, and it appears as though they do not contradict with our Salem meetings. So I have cleared my calendar for monthly, so long as you'd like me to come, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the follow-up. One of the things that in our conversations we've learned, there was the Salem Housing Authority was established long before Keizer was a city. So it just kind of grew with the urban growth boundary. So there have been conversations with the board chair or president, I don't know what it's called, Linda Nishioka, on what does that look like for Keizer going forward and opening those conversations. But those are policy, and what I appreciate you being here to make sure that we're connected with the work and the information that, because affordable housing is a key issue here in Keizer, just as it is in Salem. And we're keenly aware of the needs for people in our community to be able to access affordable housing. I love what's happening with the Habitat for Humanity project. And I think that the data you just shared is really important for us as we're looking at policy decisions that go with the housing types that are coming into our community, but also some legislative changes that have happened with recent, with House Bill 4037 and Senate, the joys of Senate Bill, I think it was 1537. That's going to be a bit of a challenge, as we've been learning with housing in general, but also with contracting getting housing built and also public notice. So we want to engage in that level. So whatever you give to the Salem City Council for understanding legislative advocacy, we are also very connected through the Council of Governments and through the League of Oregon Cities with legislative advocacy. And we are having conversations starting in August. We'll be going over the League of Oregon Cities prioritization as well and how we're going to engage. So things that will help us tee up for the next session would be very helpful. So we're on the same sheet of music.
Sounds great. And I also work with the City of Salem's housing production strategy as we kind of utilize our pipeline to identify areas of opportunity that we can bring to that table. And I'm happy to do the same for Keizer.
And I'm sure you're very familiar with Mr. Witham, with our planning department. So opportunities that we have that we can lean into opportunities for affordable housing and continue to be responsive with our building codes that try to keep the cost down. I mean, we are the gift that keeps on giving with our low tax rate. You're all welcome. But that's, that's somewhat tongue in cheek, but we want to make sure that we continue to watch the costs as much as possible for new and refurbed housing. And with that, I'll turn it over to council for any questions that you might have. All right, thank you so much for coming. I'll be in contact, or we'll talk about what the frequency might look like, and we really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Okay. Okay, is this as an individual or with, as a committee? What? Individual? Okay, so public comment, got it. Thank you. Any neighborhood association reports? Youth counselor, final report.
Well, I heard that the McNary band made it to state, so that's exciting for them.
First,
Yeah.
Not only made it to state, but
they won.
took state.
There we go, they took
they
state.
Yes, they did.
So that's exciting for them.
Yeah, first place.
Yep.
It's okay.
So, yeah, otherwise, that's it.
So they had quite a few of their musicians, took top honors or in the top, top three as state. It was a really good showing for McNary, student musicians.
Yeah, so that's really exciting.
Yeah.
for them.
Pretty cool. So yes, we'll forgive not being in the parade, so they can win. All right, thank you so much. Let's go to public comment. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have a public hearing tonight with 4 resolutions. City Attorney, do I need to read them all at this point? Or just acknowledge that we have them?
So we have no public comment?
No, we do have public comment.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to save my
Then,
voice.
yeah, no, you only have to read them, I guess, as the actual public hearing opens.
All right, thank you. So we do have public hearings on supplemental budgets, plural. If you're here for that, stand by. We do have written comment submitted. Tammy Kunz, resident of Keizer, Greater Northeast Keizer Neighborhood Association, President, Opposition to Neighborhood Association Budget Reductions. Dan Klum, Keizer Chamber of Commerce, Executive Director, proposed police fee increase. And Monica, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name.
The N is silent.
Joroge?
Yes.
Okay. Request for municipal code amendment regarding emotional support goats. Oh, okay. I remember this one. So I want to acknowledge them for the record. However, the one on the neighborhood association budget, that would be more under the public hearing we're going to have under budget rather than tonight. Can we defer that to, and enter it into the record for the budget hearing next week? Because we haven't opened that hearing yet. Can we ask them to resubmit under the hearing?
If it's in front of you tonight, I suggest just accepting it, but then we can make it part of that packet if you wanted, or I guess part of that record
Okay.
as well.
So if we could incorporate that by reference
Yeah.
into the budget hearing, that would be helpful. I think the police fee increase has to do with the agenda item tonight, so that's appropriate there. And on the request for municipal code amendment regarding emotional support goats. Are you here to speak to that tonight? So I'll call you up here in just a sec so you can talk to your letter, okay? All right. Actually, why don't we start off with you? Come on down. And if you want to give that to, there we go. And they'll take care of that. Thank you for coming. If you just state your name and your city of residence for the record, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, my name is Monica Njoroge. I live in Keizer. I'm here to respectfully request that the city review and consider amending the current ordinance regarding emotional support animals. I already have a doctor's letter for emotional support animal for my goats, but under the current ordinance, goats are automatically excluded because they're classified as livestock. So what I'm asking the city to consider is whether the ordinance still reflects the actual reality of dwarf goats today, or whether the code is outdated compared to how these animals are actually used and maintained, especially as breeding continues to change. So the goats that I have are Nigerian dwarf goats, and they're not large livestock animals. So I don't know if you guys remember, but in the 2010s, there was this big scandal with miniature pigs that ended up getting really big. But the dwarf goats, the reason why they're categorized as dwarf goats is because they naturally occur as small. So they're either called dwarf or they're called pygmies, while a miniature animal would be like due to breeding. So they are pretty small. They're like the size of like a dog, like a bigger maybe version of a dog. They're kept on a fully fenced, around a quarter-acre property, and they're not roaming loosely in the neighborhood. And the dwarf goats are actually both indoor and outdoor animals. Now there's a lot of websites that even sell like goat diapers because some people keep them inside. The practical reality also just does not match what the title livestock and what people think when they hear of the word livestock. Right now, the ordinance recognizes other animals that are livestock, but also fall under emotional support, such as horses. Even though horses are quite larger animals, require more land, create larger waste output, and have the physical ability to injure or kill people. Yet dwarf goats, which are dramatically smaller and easier to manage, are automatically excluded, regardless of medical documentation. So when it comes to the common city complaints, like dogs create repeated barking complaints throughout the neighborhood, while goats, on the other hand, they're not as noisy. I will say that you need to keep at least a minimum of 2 because they're very social animals. Otherwise, if you only have one and it doesn't see you, then it will constantly bleat, asking for your attention. But if you have a minimum of 2, then they keep each other company and they don't make the noise. Another common complaint is that, like for chicken and ducks, because they eat protein, their waste will smell more, but goats are full herbivorous animals and their waste is actually very dry and compact, so it doesn't really attract flies or bacteria and can actually be used as immediate manure, like you don't have to compost it. The city has already recognized in other situations that ordinances sometimes need to evolve with modern use and modern understanding. And ordinances involving chicken and ducks have been reviewed and changed the last couple of years in Keizer. So goats are no longer being used only in traditional farming settings, and dwarf goats can be bred for milk production, especially this specific breed is a big favorite for milk production because it's very sweet and high butter, but also because of the emotional support because they are very social animals. And across Oregon and America, increasingly they're being used, goats are being used for therapy, emotional wellness, educational programs, and therapeutic interaction environmentally. In Beaverton, Oregon, there's a well-known goat yoga where people go to do yoga with the goats because they're very friendly and can be used for emotional support. So Oregon communities have recognized that they do have a calming and therapeutic benefit to people. Also, another question is like, why not keep a snake as an emotional support animals? Well, a lot of people that need emotional support animals also struggle with like social issues. So having an animal that only stays indoors prevents them from having something that can go outdoors. And I was specifically looking for something that I can be able to go out to my backyard and do things while having the emotional support, which I can't take the snake outside. Now, I did consider other animals because before I had a Bombay cat, which was bred in, I think, Kentucky, in 1958, and it's a very friendly cat that you can put on a leash and go outdoor with it. But over time, I developed allergies towards cats. I kept a lot of cats in college as a foster, and then I developed really bad allergies. And I tried talking to like PetSmart and places to see if they can shave the cat, but apparently cats need anesthesia to shave. So I thought it wouldn't be fair for the cat. So the only other option was goats, because goats do not have the same dandruff that causes the allergies. And also in my own experience, I work with intellectually disabled children and adults, and a lot of them have triggers with dogs because maybe they had a bad past experience or dogs suddenly barking, but they don't have this fear when it comes to goats, and they interact with the goats really well. So the issue also affects local Oregon businesses and agriculture. The hay that I buy and the feed, like the pallets, I purchase from local Keizer businesses such as Copper Creek, which is on River Road. And the pallets come from Oregon farms. There's Calva and Brownsville, Oregon. Supporting dwarf goats also supports local agriculture rather than relying entirely on products shipped from outside the state. Big pet brands such as Pedigree, Blue Buffalo, Purina, Meow Mix, and Friskies come from other states like Ohio, Virginia, Connecticut, Missouri, while hay is sourced locally. So goats also provide environmental benefits in helping control overgrowth of nuisance vegetation, such as the wild blackberry bushes that we have in Oregon. When I moved there, the person that had lived there before was quite elderly before they died, and so there was a lot of bushes everywhere, and the goats pretty much just did all the clearing of that. So I'm not asking the city to allow unrestricted livestock throughout residential neighborhoods. I'm asking the city to consider whether dwarf goats should continue to be automatically excluded from emotional support consideration, even when they are properly fenced, properly maintained, medically documented, small in size, quiet, and already widely recognized in therapeutic environments. So the ordinance could still require documentation, such as fencing standards, sanitation standards, and reasonable limits on number of animals. The current ordinance treats dwarf goats the same as large livestock, at the same time allowing animals such as horses. I believe that this is something that needs to be reviewed. The city already does regulate enclosure placement, fencing, sanitation, and accessory structures. So my request is not to remove those protections. My request is simply that the dwarf goats to not be automatically excluded from emotional support considerations. And I have had somebody from the zoning come look at the place, and they were okay with like the pen placement. It was at the right place, like far enough from the neighbors, and the entire place is fenced. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Well, thank you. This has been A, educational, B, extremely well-researched, and C, looking at the city manager and our planning director, would council be okay with referring this to planning commission for their work on the code? Council President Starr.
And just to clarify, are you asking them to bring back their recommendation?
I am.
Okay,
So it would
perfect.
be a code
Yes.
recommendation on under what circumstances and so forth. I would also point out that Willamette Lutheran Homes also has goats. So they've got the goats that they keep on site for very similar reasons. They are very therapeutic. They're great for socialization. They give, it's great for the residents there, for the relationship with them and the care of those goats. So we have an example already here. Mr. Witham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does council have any parameters under which, I guess, direction for staff to take to the planning commission? Or is it a specific, like, look into goats, or is it a broader conversation?
I think I'll start off with look into goats. I think she has done a fantastic job with the facilities research and the reasoning for that. If through that work is discovered that there are similar animals that would fall under the same sort of parameters, that are good neighbors and also good companions, I'd be open to that conversation. But let's start off with the work that's been done under this, under her work.
So specific to the emotional support aspect?
Correct.
Is that, okay.
Yeah. Would not want to prohibit the production of milk, but not for as being a primary function. Does anybody disagree? Okay. I mean, we get the eggs from our chickens and they're good pets too, so the same thing. Any questions or comments? All right, well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Really
you so
appreciate
much.
it. Council President Starr, I'm gonna let you introduce this next one.
So nothing I've loved more than being on a work trip and getting a slew of emails about our next topic. And so it is I'm just giddy with excitement to invite BJ Tui to come forward and share the historic, I will say, after a conversation, historic decision regarding Keizer's Community Library. And so if I squeal, I apologize. I'll turn my microphone off.
Squeals are welcome. Madam Mayor, Councilor, staff, my name is BJ Towey. I live on Lake Fair in Keizer, and I am here as a representative from the Keizer Community Library Board. We have had quite a year in 2026. Last weekend, our book sale netted more than we have ever raised from a book sale. So that's exciting for us. We have established a Friends of the Library group this year, which is up and running, has a wonderful board that's growing by leaps and bounds as we get the word out. And we hope to be getting membership in the Friends of the Library as soon as we hear back from the federal government to establish us as a 501c3. That request has been in since January, and we understand it could be several more months before we hear back, but we're waiting with bated breath for that. But the big news that I am here to share tonight is that last Friday, the Oregon State Library Board unanimously approved Keizer Community Library as a new public library in Oregon. We are obviously thrilled beyond words to have this accomplishment after years of working toward it. And I have to acknowledge the team effort that it takes to have formed a public library, starting with the folks in this room without whom it couldn't have happened. The resolution that happened in February of 2025 was the step that we needed to get us on the path to a public library. And I personally want to thank Councilor Starr for her support and all she has done to help the library move in this direction.
Bravo.
It's a team effort. As you know, we have one part-time employee for the library, and everyone else that keeps those doors open and books circulating and being put on the shelf and providing the service that our residents deserve are volunteers. And you don't do this with just a couple of people. It takes an entire group. And what we'd like to do is to just encourage folks in Keizer to come in and see us and visit the really nice resource we have for library services now. I guess the question is whether or not we change our name at this point, and that'll have to be a board decision, but it doesn't matter. We are Keizer's Community Library, a public library in Oregon.
Bravo.
While you have thanked everyone else, we would be remiss if we didn't thank you, Ms. BJ, because you have put in countless hours of time getting Keizer's Community Library to this point. So you give everyone else the accolades and saying it couldn't happen without the people in this room, but really, the true story is it couldn't have happened without you and your relentless pursuit of your vision and your heart to see this happen for Keizer. So the thanks, to me, the thanks goes to you for not giving up.
Thank you for that. I believe so strongly in what public libraries can do for a community. Thank you.
Well, we're looking forward to the next steps, and people can definitely continue to support, need to continue to support our wonderful public, God, I love saying that, public library. And the upcoming reading programs, we're looking forward to you coming back and sharing about what's going to happen this summer to get our kids reading and excelling in school. And this is so much of what makes this community so special.
Well, the education of our children is certainly something that's near and dear to my heart. We have held summer reading clubs for a number of years, and we will, of course, have another dynamic program this year, starting around the middle of June. So there will be performers, there will be crafts, there will be lots of encouragement to check out books that are fun to read, and it won't just be for kids.
Will there be reptiles and princesses?
There may or may not be reptiles, but there will be princesses.
Always princesses.
Guaranteed princesses. They're scheduled. They have put aside their royal duties to join us one Wednesday.
As always. Well, thanks again for you, the entire team, and looking back over the years, the people who never gave up and kept pushing forward. When we say that Keizer shows up, this is where it just kept at it and at it and at it and at it to find the place to yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, amazing. Yeah, I squealed when I opened my email. Matt Myers, Verda Lane.
Madam Mayor, City Councilors, my name is Matt Myers. I am a recent citizen to Keizer, moved here in 22, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, Eagle Scout, and currently a student at Oregon State University.
Go Bees.
A few months ago, I was at a meeting and we mentioned that I live on Verda Lane, and I want to thank Lieutenant Wenning. I've seen an increased presence on Verda Lane, so thank you for that. As the traffic increases due to more housing. But a few months ago, we talked about an engineering study being done to mitigate some traffic concerns that we have on Verda Lane. And I'm just wondering where we are with that. Is it moving? Is it, what have we done since 3 months ago?
Mr. Brown, should address to Ms. Blaylock, please. Or are you up to speed?
Okay. So can you repeat that for me, Matt?
I'm sorry, Adam. So a few months ago, the city council made a recommendation for an engineering study on Verda Lane to deal with some traffic issues that were evident there. And I want to help, and I just wondered what progress has been made so far on that. And I'm sorry to put people on the spot, but it was, I think, Councilor Christopher, it was asked of the engineering department to, do a study on, the possibility of a couple stop signs and a few other things.
Right. This is stop signs up on
Calmia and
Verda and Calmia, and there was one other, Larchwood, I believe.
Yes, thank you.
So those are the two intersections that would have been looked at. And so, stand by. So, Ms. Blaylock, if you're not ready tonight, can you bring that back next time?
Actually, yes, I apologize. I don't have any of that information with me, but I will follow up. I do recall that.
Yeah, I know everybody's
Yes.
busy. I just thought I'd ask.
Well, it's fair to play her new kid card.
Yeah, that was early on when I started.
right.
So yes,
Yeah.
I will follow up on that.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much. Councilor Christopher.
But my question is, does it require an engineering study to put those stop signs up? I didn't remember that. I remember that you told me that the city council could put stop signs.
I did. The council can do those. We typically get advice from a traffic engineer, but it is with my understanding of Oregon laws that it's within the purview of the council to put a sign like that.
But advice from an engineer is different than an engineering study. Yes?
Yeah.
In terms of, how long is this going to take? Yeah. Yes?
So I guess for me, it would, again, trying to back up to when I first started, with that, a study is different. And so having an assessment done to see if that traffic, if it calls for that, was where I kind of understood it to be. And I know that we had, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I know that there have been a few studies, like traffic studies for speed done there. And my understanding is that those did not demonstrate a speed issue. That being said, we would look to the engineer for recommendations on traffic safety and speed. The other thing that was mentioned, I believe, was a speed reduction.
Correct.
South on the area,
South
south
of
of
the
the roundabout, yeah.
Exactly right, because it's 35 right now, and then it drops all the way to 25. But with the addition of the 220 apartments on that south end, and then you've got cottages going in on the north end. So my concern is, the same as Mr. Meyer's concern is, this is a critical north-south collector, and the folks that live north of the roundabout have waited and waited and waited and waited. And how much longer will they have to wait? I'm with you on that, Matt. This was different than I understood. I did not think that we would have to do a full study. And with adding all of that additional traffic on there, that was part of reducing the speed south, is so hopefully that would reduce the speed as they continue north to Lock Haven. But
If I may, I'm familiar with the study. I'm here as a citizen today, but I'm also on the traffic committee, so multimodal committee. Is that the right name?
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry. But you're absolutely right that the speed was not an issue, but the volume was 8 times the normal amount. So, yeah.
and that was the reason, Carrie.
So we did 2 studies, Lieutenant Wenning, with your people, and the volume just is there. And so, you know, I think that part of the issue is, as we increase traffic on that street, and it continues to go up, something needs to be done, because even though speed isn't an issue, the number of cars is larger than what it should be for that street. And it's a connector, as we all know. So, but you're right, the study has been done, so.
So then how much more do we have to do?
So that I would like to follow up on, because my understanding is that, so this has been brought up to the city engineer, but not with direction to move anything forward. With respect to the south end and the speed zone, because of the project that's ongoing, I did mention that to ODOT, to the project liaison at ODOT, because signage, they'll be putting new sign in. So I put that on the radar. He said he would look into the speed study that they did, and I need to follow up on that piece. The stop signs is, yes, the stop sign is a separate thing that I need to follow up on.
So when can we hear back about that?
I will follow up as soon as I have information. Unless you have a direction for like when you would like that, I can jump on it.
Yes, and So I want to give her the chance to work with the staff and our engineers on best practice recommendations and with the current data. So, with your workflow, because we do have 2 Verta projects now. So that's also underway. With that, I'm going to go to Mr. Brown and then Counselor Parsons.
Yeah, let us do some research on and get back to you in June.
Okay, sounds
The
good.
first week in June? The first meeting?
In June.
Great.
In June,
That'd be terrific. In June.
in June.
There's 2 meetings, so
That's next meeting.
Well, in
it's either
June,
18th or the 4th.
be one of the 2. Counselor Parsons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So there are 2 things. First of all, a few months back, when we talked about stop signs, our former Public Works Director said he could put up a stop sign anywhere.
That's right.
We didn't need to go through anything to do anything.
Correct.
That's number 1. Number 2, I know the multimodal committee is working on 5-star things that they think needs to be with stop signs and speed, and I haven't seen that yet, so I would like Counselor President Shane Starr to kind of weigh in a little bit on maybe when we could see those 5 things, so maybe we can expedite this work session.
That is a great, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Parsons. So I have long felt that it's important in our Citizen Advisory Committee meetings that we have our department heads at the meetings so that they can help weigh in with guidance in the moment of what our committees are talking about. And I think this is the perfect example of why that is so critical for our committees to make forward movement in getting things done, because the way, at least this particular committee, the multimodal, is, and this is not a fault on staff, but they have to take it back to their supervisors and their department directors, and then it has to come back to the committee, and then the committee works it over again, and then the staff have to take it back to the director. You see where this is going, and each one is a month in between. So I have made the request of our city leadership that we have department directors at our meetings, so we can get these items addressed and cleared up and direction given immediately. So I'm not sure where that's at in the plan, in the work plan, so I would defer to Mr. Brown on that one. But that request was made probably a couple months ago now. So Ms. Parsons, Councilor Parsons, I can't answer it because it's not ready yet. It hasn't gone through.
Just wondering what
There you go.
where we are in the process, so I appreciate that.
That's
Thank
where
you.
we are.
Ms. Blaylock.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Counselor Starr. Interestingly enough, I will be attending Thursday.
Woohoo!
Sorry, randomly.
That was a squeal.
Chiroo.
So we do have a work session coming up, I believe, on the 8th of June. So yes, I am trying to plug in now that I have my feet a little bit more under me. I'm trying to plug into this group and as well as the Parks Board.
There we go.
That being said, with traffic, it's some of that I don't know that I can even provide an on-demand answer to, because of the traffic is a different animal, and so a lot of times there has to be follow-up and studies from people who are more qualified in that focus. So I love to be engaged in that, and I just want to make sure that I don't set an expectation that me being there will immediately deliver answers, because sometimes there will be the need to follow up. Thank you.
Councilor Christopher, last word.
Thanks. So I think something else that would be really, really helpful, since this, this is the Gordian knot. I want to help you, and I'm so sick of this issue because I'm so frustrated by how long it's taken. That's not Carrie's fault. She's new. She gets grace, but she doesn't get that much grace.
Yeah.
So I think a recommendation as well from the multimodal committee of which you sat on. I know that you've talked with this before. I think I filled in one night when we talked about this at length. So I think that that would be good as well, is to get a recommendation from you as well as the engineer. And then maybe by the end of June for the new fiscal year, we can all celebrate with new stop signs.
That'd be great. We do owe some reports back this month. I met with all the neighborhood committees over the last 2 or 3 months to get their input on some issues about traffic. So I think this will be an important meeting for us where President Starr can come forward with some recommendations to the entire city council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cami Brock, Keizer Parks. Hello, good to see you.
Sorry for my late entry. This is my first go around here at a city council meeting, so not exactly sure what to do, but thank you for having us. My name is Cami Brock. I'm a school social worker at Claggett Creek Middle School for the Salem Keizer School District, and I cover some of the elementary schools as well. And I brought with me today Christine Persick, and I'm the school counselor, one of them at Claggett Creek.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us. So it was recommended to me to come to you all for a project that we want to work on. So one of our goals at Claggett Creek is to get out and about in our community a little bit more and really engage with our families at a different level. We do a lot of activities currently in our school. So one of our thoughts was that maybe this next fall, when we do our fall kickoff, we can host some back to school nights essentially at some of our city parks. So this led us down a little trail of what that might look like, and we decided that we'd love to utilize a couple park spaces in September to do back to school nights. And it was mentioned that potentially if I come to you all, you could maybe waive the fee so the school district wouldn't have to pay for the park. So what we're asking for is the Keizer Rapids Park and the Claggett Creek Park on September 1st and September 3rd. So it'll be one park each night. And we like to use the covered area in case it's hot and things of that nature. And our school is hoping to show up with, whatever staff are able to come, bring some resources for our students. So we're looking at maybe some binders. Our middle school is a big push on using binders and planners and organizers. So we'll want to bring some of those items, which we will purchase. And we have invited all of our local elementary schools, the ones that feed into Claggett Creek. So that's Keizer Elementary, Weddell Elementary, Cummings Elementary, and Kennedy Elementary. So they have all been invited also to attend in order to kind of bridge and work together in outreach and getting involved with our community members. And with that, we went to Keizer United to talk to them. And Jennifer Palanuk, she works with the Salem Leadership Foundation currently. She is all on board to help us over the summer put together some community resources. So not only would it be the schools, it would also be potentially some of our community organizations and agencies like Radness and Sue's, for example, that potentially could do some outreach to our families, show them what kind of supports we have and different resources. Someone asked if they could do a school supply drive and bring those. So our little concept is getting a little bit bigger, which we love. So I guess all in all, my ask is to see if for those 2 different nights, we can get the park fee waived for the shelters at those 2 parks.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So at Claggett Creek, we have 2 shelters. Are you wanting to reserve both? Because it sounds like it's going to get big enough where you're going to need them both.
It may.
Probably a good idea.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm looking to Mr. Brown. What I recommend is that they submit an application to reserve it, and then it can come back to council for that consideration. At Keizer Rapids, where are you looking at having it?
I believe there's a shelter by the Big Toy.
Yeah, there are 2 of them.
There are two of them.
Okay.
And again, you might want both. So copy paste. if you do an application, to reserve, and then you could, ask for the fee waiver, and then that would go through our city staff and bring it back to council for consideration, okay?
That
So
sounds
that's how
great.
that works. It's super easy, and our staff is more than happy to help you fill that out. And of course, we would encourage you to come back with flyers and information on how Keizer can support you and our students at Clyde Creek Middle School.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Counselor Parsons.
Yes, we talked about this in Keizer United last week, actually.
Yes, we did.
So, and in the beginning planning stages, and we said they needed to come to city council. So I'm glad to see you here following through with that. And I look forward to you guys having those events at the parks. That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, this sounds like a great project.
Awesome. Thank you
you
so much,
for
everybody.
Thank you.
Families.
Rhonda Rich. We're still in public comment.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and staff. My name's Rhonda Rich. I'm here tonight as president of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association. I was unable to attend the Budget Committee meeting. The Neighborhood Association's budget was discussed, and there was a lot of discussion, and I'd like to give a little presentation here because I think there were some questions that need to be answered. So I'm here tonight to ask for your consider the $1,200 budget for our neighborhood associations and the other 4 neighborhood associations. At last Thursday's West Keizer Neighborhood Association General Meeting, we voted to pursue this request. For all the associations line item in the budget, this is a 27% reduction from last year's budget of $8,200. We will need to absorb the cost of group marketing, which is $400 for the Keizer Times and $700 for the Chamber Directory, which we were excited when we got that because that goes to every resident in Keizer. And we did just discuss this at the work session about doing some kind of group mailing. And we've agreed not to fund the Community Fields banner because it didn't get much input. So that's a savings of $1,000. The most important reason to fund our associations is so we can continue the outreach to our communities. All neighborhood associations, but this is from our West Keizer Neighborhood Association mission statement. We act as a vehicle to communicate the concerns of members and advocate for their best interests to the Keizer City Council, to city staff, and to other government agencies, and work to improve the quality of life for those who live, work, and play in West Keizer. There are no other groups dedicated to accomplishing this task. Given that each neighborhood association has a subscription list of at least 300 residents, every email notification reaches about 2,000 Keizer households. Each neighborhood association uses their funds differently, but we abide by the same expense guidelines that have been approved by the City Council. The West Keizer Neighborhood Association did submit a report on how our funds have been used this last year. So far, $1,157 for communicating to our members, which was the website, the newsletter, the brochures, the printing, and door hangers. I want to add that in the last year, members have donated a publication of the newsletter, $200. We put out 3 a year. Donations of refreshments, $100. Landscaping material for coming school grounds, $100. And giveaways at community events, about $200. So at least $600 is donated and hundreds of hours of volunteer time is given in reaching out to our community. In addition, the West Keizer Neighborhood Association has collected 3,500 pounds of food and $1,000 for our local food bank. Our expenses are submitted at the end of the fiscal year to lessen the amount of work that city staff needs to do. Write only one check. We can carry what we spend. You do get an update report every year in April as to our current expenses, which was included in the Budget Committee's packet. We each gave our annual reports in the last several months and were commended on what we were accomplishing in each of our neighborhoods. So at a time when it is important to communicate to our communities about our budget, traffic management, and land use issues, it seems that reaching out to our neighbors is more important than ever. We want to continue the work that we do with the funds that are necessary. So I'm asking you, our city council, who knows best of our work, what do you need to know to continue funding us at the $1,200 level? And what information can we bring to the table on June 1st to convince you that we are good stewards of the monies that you give us? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions for Ms. Rich? Thank you. And can we also, so you'll be back on the 1st to testify in that public hearing, would that be correct?
Yes, but I
Okay.
wanted you to kind of, if there were any questions that you wanted to reach out to us before then, and when, that's why I came tonight.
Is there additional information that counselors would like to have, make sure we have, that Rhonda has handy on the 1st? Counselor Parsons?
Are you going to turn in your receipts so we get the total of everything?
Yeah, we have one more receipt coming through. I'll try to get, well, we were asked for June 15th, I think, to have it in by, but I can give the receipts for what we have now, but then I'll need another
That
check
will- that
for
will
about
help.
the
Thank
40
you.
bucks
That will
that we
help.
have a balance of. Yeah.
And then you named a number of things where there's been donations and so forth that show leverage. So if you make sure that that's included in the record as well, I think that's really, really helpful to show the multiplier.
It's pretty much from board members, you know.
Yeah.
I know you guys donate stuff too, so.
We wouldn't know
yeah,
anything
but-
about that.
Yeah.
But to your point, when you're involved, you're all in. And I think that's and the other thing is people tend to discount when they donate, well, I just did this or I just did that. It's important to account for that. It's important to write it down because when you're looking at an entire program, if you're not keeping track of donations, you don't have a realistic sense of what the entire program costs or produces. So a complete record is very helpful, not just for ourselves, but for people in the community and for planning going forward. So I would encourage that.
Thank you.
Counselor Christopher?
I do have a question. I can't remember what the meeting was, but it was a meeting with the realtors. And it was a presentation on neighborhood associations, and there's a bunch of them in Salem. And a lot of them apply for grants. Have any of our neighborhood associations applied for grants through MCDC or through Oregon Community Foundation?
No.
Because you're a separate nonprofit, you're not government, so you're
I believe we're
Nonprofit.
government. We are
No,
government.
you're not a nonprofit.
We are not a nonprofit.
Ooh, so you're like in a donut hole.
So we depend upon
Yeah.
the city council to approve our budget and then donations that we just kind of, out of our
Are not
pockets.
tax deductible, okay.
Yeah.
They are not. However, there have been grants like the Story Walk. That was a partnership with Greater Northeast and the Early Learning Hub, things like that. So they have gotten projects funded that are aligned with building neighborhood, things like that.
I think Keizer United has given, and there was some discussion on that too, some grants for National Night Out. We don't participate in that. We don't have a big, and I think they're wonderful, the group parties that they have, but we don't do that. We just hand out our newsletter. So,
And that might be, I think that'll be a great conversation about what that looks like in the different neighborhoods, because different neighborhoods have approached it differently.
Right.
And we ran out of time at our work session, but I think having that conversation, and more importantly, since the neighborhood associations are not 501c3s, where's the appropriate funding for National Night Out and big outreach like that? Follow up, Counselor Christopher?
Sorry, so I have a question. So how many, would it be helpful to you? Do you think, hold on, let me pull it together.
Words.
I had a bad.
So many things I can say.
I had a bad weekend.
So you meet every month here at the Civic Center for your
except
meetings?
for June, July, August, and December.
Oh, you take summer off, okay. And so, have you ever attempted to have folks like, Northeast Keizer? Yeah, Greater Northeast. Greater Northeast. So Greater Northeast Keizer has folks call in. Have you ever?
No, we haven't done any Zoom meetings.
So what do you think about that?
Of having Zoom meetings?
Yeah,
There's a
I'm talking
expense.
about outreach and how can we do that?
Oh, I know there is an expense to that. Yeah, we just haven't brought that forward.
that could be
We haven't been
potentially-
asked.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't seen it as a,
Okay.
yeah, something
Okay.
that we need to do.
Just trying to think outside the box for, communicating with little or no expense to other folks and is the, electronic addition to a meeting a potential?
Well, just for the record, the Zoom subscription costs $170 a year, so it's not free. However, I think that putting a pin in that for next year's conversation with the neighbor associations, continuing to learn from the different models that are out there, is something that we started that conversation this year and will be great to continue next year.
I do want to say we have gotten 1,200 in the last 3 years since the other two neighborhood associations have come on board. So that would just kind of keep us in line. So, okay.
Yep, that is true. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. To wrap up, public comment will be Tammy Combs, and then we're going to take a break.
Tammy Kunz, Greater Northeast Keizer Neighborhood Association President. Serious cuts regarding the proposed budget cuts to the neighborhood associations. Dear Mayor Clark and members of the City Council and Budget, I will submit a written copy of this, Melissa, for budget. I am writing to you on behalf of Greater Northeast Keizer Neighborhood Association to express the deep concerns regarding the proposed budget cuts to the Keizer Neighborhood Associations and to formally request the restoration of the 1,200 annual budget allocation. Neighborhood associations serve in a vital role, grassroots linked to our city government for people who live here. Greater Northeast proudly serves over 2,000 families and local businesses within our boundaries. This allocation of $1,200 allocation is not just a normal line item for the direct budget. It directs high-level investment in safety, cohesion of well-being within the community. The tangible daily impacts of community that we work within, champion vital civic infrastructure, focusing on key areas that directly impact our community, pedestrian safety and traffic calming. We act critically, advocacy voice for traffic safety measures on busy corridors. Our families have been waiting for solutions for some of them since 2019. Multicultural outreach and equity, the Neighborhood Association, we are the only ones actually that transform our newsletter into multiple languages. I have supported English, Spanish, Russian, and Ukraine languages for our families. And as others may come on board, we will continue to do that. The budget cuts will impact that. Digital accessibility, we do Zoom meetings. We are in September starting our hybrid meetings to hopefully impact the community in other ways. Utilizing our GoDaddy website allows us to reach out in other ways. We have about 450 people who access that on a consistent basis to download our information as well as whatever activity the city website gets. I don't have access to that. Reducing or eliminating the $1,200 allocation for the neighborhoods will cause some underrepresented voices in Keizer, structured channels to engage in city leadership. Without these funds, the administrative and financial burden of basic outreach shift to volunteers, severely limiting our capacity to serve. At this time, we engage in safety, transportation, transparency, we urge the city to protect and restore the neighborhood association budget at $1,200. We understand the physical decision ahead is diminishing very infrastructure that supports and advocates for 2,000 plus families in Greater Northeast Keizer Neighborhood Association alone. While West Keizer Neighborhood Association also serves 2,847 families. By taking away our budget, that will take away a lot of the voices within Keizer. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And you'll be submitting this under the public hearing for budget as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a current one? Because you gave numbers in that aren't in here.
Yeah, this is a newer one that the board worked on today.
So you will submit that to the budget?
And I will submit it, yeah.
Okay, under that hearing. Okay. Thank you very much. Questions for Ms. Kunz?
Thank you, Marlene.
Okay. Thank you very much. With that, it is currently 8:06. We're going to take a break for 10 minutes. Keizer City Council is back in session. It's 8:16. We are going to continue with our agenda to the consent calendar. Council President Starr, would you please read the items on tonight's consent calendar?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. Our consent calendar for Monday, May 18th reads, item A, approval of April 27th, 2026 special meeting minutes, and item B, approval of the May 4th, 2026 regular session minutes.
Thank you. Any polls? Seeing none? Council President Starr?
I move that Keizer City Council adopt the consent calendar as read.
Second.
Consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. I will now open a public hearing for four resolutions, which I will read as follows. Resolution, authorization for a supplemental budget, PERS obligation fund reclassification. Resolution, authorization for a supplemental budget, general fund, transient occupancy tax, and event center fund transfer. Resolution, authorization for a supplemental budget, sports facility operations fund, Little League operations. And resolution, authorization for a supplemental budget, administrative services, finance, utility billing, contractual services. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Mr. Wood will handle this item.
Thank you. Mr. Wood.
Madam Mayor, City Council, as we close in on the end of the fiscal year, we have four supplemental budgets for your consideration tonight. Three of the four are cleanup in nature. The first one, reclassifying $64,000 from debt service to materials and services in the PERS obligation fund, is just a reclassification of existing appropriations from one bucket to another. The second adjustment is to eliminate the $73,000 interfund transfer from the general fund to the event center. We're changing how we're recording revenues. Instead of a two-step process, we're just going to go to a one-step process. The third adjustment, as approved at the last city council meeting, is to recognize and appropriate $318,500 in the sports facility operations. That's to provide for the operations at the Little League fields. And the final adjustment is to recognize and appropriate $40,000 of additional working capital in the finance utility billing to provide for increased credit card payment utilization. During the budget committee meetings, I think I indicated that we're at about 60% utilization of electronic payment methods. My staff promptly corrected me that we're closer to 70% now. We're also seeing a shift towards credit cards and away from ACH automated payments. And those credit cards have an increased cost associated with them. We currently collect about $13 million in utility revenues, and our credit cards are just at about 1% of that, which is pretty consistent with national averages. So with that, I would be free to address any additional questions you may have. And unfortunately, you do have to approve each of the resolutions separately. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you very much. Councilor Christopher.
I have a question on the sports facility operations. I don't remember what we did 2 weeks ago. So where did the $300,000+ come? Like, tell me about that.
Sure. That's Sports Facility Management Group put together a budget for us. That budget is basically what we're rolling into the Sport Facility Operations Fund. We're showing it gross as the cash associated with that is really the city's cash. So that really is a combination of concession sales,
I remember the
Little League
budget,
rentals.
but I didn't remember. So this is money they've already sold?
This is what they'll be selling through the end of June 30th.
Where are we getting the $300,000 to front them the money?
We initially provided them $145,000. So anything that they've done on top of that is based off of the work that they've done.
Okay,
so we're not putting any more money into that at this point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what
Good question.
That's what I remembered. So when I saw the 300,000, I thought, whoa. So we fronted them 145, and they've been in business now and having tournaments and making money. So the difference between the 145 and the 300 and something or other is money they've already sold.
That's correct.
Oh. No, sold.
It's projected.
Well, it's their budget through the end of the fiscal year.
It's their budget. So
Right.
this is all just paper. We're not really giving money. This
That
is
is, that
just
is correct.
paper.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
just
thank you.
paper.
Moving it from one.
We're doing accounting for accounting's sake because I
Okay,
have nothing
okay,
better to
okay.
do with my time.
Then I don't,
Yeah.
that's fine. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Any other questions on,
I had a rough weekend. Oh.
noted? Any other questions on the 4 supplemental budgets? No. All right. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on these 4 supplemental budgets? I don't believe we have anybody signed up. I'm looking at the large group of people here, one of whom's on the budget committee. Any comments from anyone here? Hearing none. Council members, do you need any additional information prior to my closing the public hearing? Going once, going twice. But the public hearing is now closed. Council President Starr, start with the first one.
Here we go. I move the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2026, authorization for a supplemental budget, the PERS Obligation Fund reclassification.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2026, authorization for a supplemental budget, PERS Obligation Fund reclassification. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. One down.
I move the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2026, authorization for supplemental budget, general fund, transient occupancy tax, and event center fund transfer.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2026, authorization for a supplemental budget, general fund, transient occupancy tax, and event-centered fund transfer. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Two down.
I move the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2026, authorization for a supplemental budget, sports facility operations fund, Little League operations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2026, authorization for a supplemental budget, sports facility operations fund, Little League operations. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Last one.
I move the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2026, authorization for a supplemental budget, administrative services, finance, utility, billing, contractual services.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2026, authorization for a supplemental budget, administrative services, finance, utility, billing, contractual services. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. That concludes public hearings for this evening. We will now go on to administrative action. Item 9A, consideration of volunteer video. City Manager, is this being pulled?
Yep.
Yes, it is being pulled.
Okay, thank you. We will now go to item 9B, resolution adopting attendance policy for City of Keizer boards, commissions, and committees, except for the Planning Commission. City Manager.
Ms. Bissett will handle this item.
Thank you, Ms. Bissett.
All right, Mayor and City Councilors, this item is before you as the Volunteer Coordinating Committee has been looking at a policy for attendance requirements. There's a 75% attendance requirement currently in Appendix A. However, there wasn't really a formal process to address attendance issues. And so there were some issues with risky meeting a quorum at some of the meetings. And so the Volunteer Coordinating Committee met and they developed a proposed attendance policy. They created this policy based on feedback from the different boards, commissions, and committees. And on April 9th, they voted to recommend the adoption of the policy that's in your packet to the City Council. And the goal of their policy is to encourage consistent participation while providing some flexibility and clear communication when attendance issues occur. So the policy defines attendance concerns, formalizes the process for reporting absences, and establishes a process of communication when problems occur.
Right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? Okay, I've got some recommendations for a couple of adjustments in the policy. What we can do is if you have any general questions, we can address those now, or we can put a motion on the table and amend. Okay, Council President Starr, would you go ahead with the motion?
I move to adopt resolution R2026, adopting an attendance policy for City of Keizer boards, commissions, and committees, except for the Planning Commission.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt resolution R 2026, adopting attendance policy for City of Keizer boards, commissions, and committees, except for the Planning Commission. I would first like to suggest that the goal be moved from the bottom to the top. I think it's really important for a policy to start off with what it's about. So under the first line, I'd like to bring that up to the top. Would there be any objection to that change?
No.
So that could be a friendly amendment.
Accepted.
Okay. What I'd also like to do is on number 2, it talks about two consecutive meetings or 75%. I'd like to add something, whichever is higher or lower. I'm not sure which one that should go, but we should have one or other be the trigger. I'll leave that as is. Okay. I wasn't sure how that was going to work out with the math. The third one on number 3, on the notification, I would like to change it to read, will notify the chair and council liaison. I think it's really important for the council liaison to know if people are going to be not there. And be able to work with the chair, for the council liaison to work with the chair if they start to encounter problems. Because I think each of you as the council liaison is a check-in. So I would like to ask for a friendly amendment to add the words after the word notify the chair and council liaison. Is there any objection?
Well, I just don't think it's necessary.
To notify the liaison? One of the issues.
We don't run the meeting.
While that is true, because we do the appointments, it's helpful for us to know when there are people who are not showing up and be able to engage with the chair on those conversations. Sometimes the chair doesn't feel as empowered to do something about it, and I think we need to know when when somebody's going to be absent. That's been my experience.
I think that I like how they've written this. I think it's appropriate that they've said that they bring in the liaison once it's a problem, but this is just an absence. This could be one absence in a year's period. Why bring the liaison in on that? I think they wrote it well. I know they talked with every single committee and got everyone's opinion on this. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's the liaison issues addressed in what number?
When it's a problem.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Let me go to that page here. Click. So 1, 2, 3, whoops, wrong page. That would help. The 6th bullet point down.
Yeah,
So-
it like straddles page 1 and 2.
Okay. So then the city recorder's office will coordinate with the committee chair and council liaison for next steps.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's a problem.
And then I have one more question. The last bullet point, attendance tracking will be conducted by the city recorder's office only when attendance concerns arise, rather than as a routine tracking process for all members. Help me understand how that works. So we were doing all this work about what to do, but what's going to be the trip to go, we got a problem?
Yeah, my
Councilor
question
Duran?
is, what if the chair isn't paying attention? Or isn't there all the time, so they don't necessarily see it?
Well, that's kind of my question, is what's going to be the trigger point? Where you go, we got a problem, before it's really gotten bad. So,
Says staff,
Here,
well, as it says, we don't want to pile work on staff,
they're just taking attendance.
right? Counselor Christopher?
I don't remember, and you all have a committee, so, I mean, those committee chairs are so conscientious. they know when their committee members, and if it's a problem where this committee member has missed 2 in a row, or they've missed every other one, they're missing, either the members of the committee or the chair themselves would make the recorder's office aware of it. I just, I mean, I don't know, the bottom line is, I don't know what the reporting is, but I don't think we want to give it to the recorder's office to keep attendance.
I don't
So,
either.
and I don't think we want to assign attendance to any one member of a committee.
Counselor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. The VCC, which I'm a liaison for, has spent a lot of time on this and a lot of effort putting this together. Part of the reasoning behind this particular one that you're looking at is that if we have somebody that has missed 2 meetings, maybe they are missing them for a certain reason. Maybe they have an illness, maybe there's something else that's going on, and it shouldn't be an automatic thing that somebody goes, oh, they missed 2 meetings, we need to do something. The chairman of that committee should be aware of what's going on with their committee, and if somebody's gonna be missing 2 in a row, they should know why, and if they understand why, then we just keep going. But if it's habitual and there's a problem, then the committee chairman can take care of it.
Okay, so that was the thinking behind it.
Yes.
Okay, that helps.
I've never known a committee chair to miss more than 1 meeting, ever, like 2 in a row.
Well, we're not necessarily talking about the committee chair, we're talking about the members of the committee. But that's true, the committee chair very seldom misses 2. They don't miss 1 very often because as chair, they know they have a bigger responsibility to run the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, no, that helps, thank you. Anything further? Okay. So, we have the motion on the table, it's been
I
amended.
accepted the friendly.
Yep.
Did the seconder accept it?
I was not asked, but I will.
Okay. And everybody accepted there was no objection, so it's been moved and seconded and amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much to the VCC and everybody involved in helping move this forward. Let's look at 9C, resolution authorizing city manager to award and enter into an agreement with KNL Industries, Inc. for 2026 pavement resurfacing. City manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Public Works Director Blaylock will have this item.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blaylock.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councilors. This project will resurface approximately 1.42 miles of various Keizer streets. You have in your packet a map showing where and a list of the sections of roadway that we are resurfacing. The Public Works Department solicited bids through the formal process. The bids ranged from 1.7 to down to 1.2. To fit into the budget, we pulled one Schedule I, and the low bid was K&L Industries, Inc., and they remained the low bid after we pulled the schedule. This will maintain some of our vital infrastructure. The project does include curb ramp upgrades at the locations. With that, we recommend that the council adopt the attached resolution. I'll take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Blaylock? Councilor Parsons?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Carrie, why don't we patch our streets instead of just resurfacing them all the time? You know what I'm talking about when you patch them, you just patch the cracks and we move on? Whatever that's called. What's it called?
Crack seal.
Crack seals.
Actually,
So that's a good question.
Because it's way
Thank you.
cheaper, isn't it?
So yes, there are different methods for pavement management to extend the lifespan. So historically, that has not been a program that we do. I'm looking into that right now. There's all kinds of alternatives from the crack seal to slurry seal to chip seal, which is what you typically see in the county. So there's a lot of different options for that, and I am looking into that as a way to preserve our roads and extend our budgets in the long run.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Brown, that would, Counselor Christopher, and then, okay.
Thanks. Yeah, that was something I asked Carrie to look into a couple weeks ago. So, and I shoved some information and material her way. So I think she'll work with her team to come back with some.
So that will extend the buying power of our street fund, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Well, yeah, assuming the analysis comes in that it does, but that's what we need to look at.
Okay. Information is power. I'm gonna go Counselor Christopher and then Counselor Kohler.
So I don't have any problems with the streets that you've selected to resurface. I just wonder, how do you select them? How does this, who does this? How does it happen?
Thank you, Counselor Christopher. So we have an assessment done. It's called the Pavement Condition Index. It's used it was developed a while back. It's been used every year, and it just is a method for rating the condition of our roads. So we get that information. That study is done, I believe, by the county, or it formerly was. But we get that information and put that into what's called Street Saver, which is a little bit like our GIS system. It shows a map of the streets and where the priorities are. And so we use that to select different roads combined with what fits in our budgets. So we try to take the highest priorities as they come.
I really like that answer. Thank you so much, because I did not know. So it's sort of AI-ish? I mean, the analysis part of it sounds like it's done by...
Well, it's not, so to do the assessment, people actually drive the roads,
but
do the assessment, put the data in, and then that data is plugged in and displayed so that you can see the different levels. So it's given a condition rating. And so we look at those to decide which ones are in the worst shape.
And does it
based on that.
recommend, do this one, this is number one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so has multimodal been advised that this is the roads that are going to be done?
That's a great question. I'm not aware of that. So that is something I did share this with the West Keizer Neighborhood Association last week. And I will be attending the multimodal safety.
Great.
So I'd love to bring that along.
Follow up. So I would love to have them have more information regarding that. We hear a lot about bicycles, bicycle helmets, bicycle lanes, green paint. So it would be great if they had that information. So, and then do they have an opportunity, like if one of our citizens came to multimodal and said, hey, my street is really bad, is there an opportunity for consideration, or you would have the rating for that? So if they said that, then you have the rating for every street in the city?
Practically, yes. All
Okay,
of
so
the
they
public,
could they could give feedback back to that.
So ideally, yeah, we would look
Okay.
at the street that's being proposed and find out where that falls on a priority list based on
And
the
we could be able to
condition
tell them that.
ratings. Yeah.
Okay, great. Good answers. A+.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Brown?
I was going to add to what she was saying about the BCI. They are coming up with automated devices to do it, where vehicles can just drive over them and provide all the assessments on it.
We saw that at LOC.
Spending.
Yeah.
Counselor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not green paint, by the way. It's not paint. The green that they want to do is not paint. That's why it's so expensive, and that's why
It's
we're
a
hesitant
plastic
to start
coating.
putting it everywhere.
I should have said coating, thank you.
But the resurfacing versus repair, Ms. Blaylock, when they do repairs, do we still have to update all the curb cuts because that's one of the most expensive parts of that whole thing is the dang curb cuts.
Thank you, Counselor Kohler. Yes, in fact, that is the rule, that if you are going to resurface or pave, you do have to upgrade the surrounding curb ramps to standard. So yes, that is a very large part of the cost. That's why our total amount over time of what we can accomplish each year with the budget, the linear feet of resurfacing has decreased because of the cost of the upgrades.
Follow-up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for that. I think that's a big thing that we need to consider. But I also understand that we get grants for most of the resurfacing things. So if we don't resurface and we just repair, do we not have the grants? Does that reduce the amount of money that we have to take care of the streets?
Good question. So based on what I understand so far, so the grant money that we receive is for road improvements by and large. So the bigger reconstructions, so widening or adding bike lanes. So that would be a road improvement. For resurfacing, thus far, I'm not aware of grant money for that. So that is something that we are funding, including the curb ramp upgrades.
Thank you very much.
Just follow up that I believe most of the paving comes through our street fund, which is the gas tax revenue we receive from the state of Oregon. And that is money that we can only use for our streets. All the gas taxes have to be used for that purpose only, as I understand it.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions? Council President Starr, would you put the motion on the table, please?
I move the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R2026, authorizing the city manager to award and enter into an agreement with KNL Industries, Inc. for 2026 pavement resurfacing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R2026, authorizing the city manager to award and enter into an agreement with KNL Industries, Inc. for 2026 pavement resurfacing. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Item 9D, resolution adopting policy for Keizer committees, boards, and commissions desiring to apply for grants. City Manager.
Thanks. This is something you requested, and Mr. Lindsay has prepared it for you.
Thank you. Mr. Lindsay.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So this situation was alluded to by Councilor Christopher just a moment ago when you brought up bicycle helmets, because this is really born out of that bicycle helmet grant that happened without council knowing about it. So the motion was to go and develop a process outlining committee steps when they want to apply for a grant. So what you see on page 50 of 59 is that process 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the process is if it's a policy statement and it says basically if the committees, boards, or commissions desire to apply for grants, they basically have to meet and discuss it. So you can't have a rogue individual just doing it. It has to be actually done by the whole committee. So that's kind of the idea behind number 1. And then the motion and vote must be made prior to the grant application being moved forward to the next step. So they actually have to take action on it. And then after that action, it's going to be reviewed by the department director of the applicable department that it affects, just to see if it's appropriate as a grant opportunity. And then that person, if they believe it's appropriate, will bring the matter at the next city council meeting. So we're not going to have any lag between times. And then the council can consider it, and they can also consider whether or not there's financial information. And then finally, if you approve that, then the department director can sign on behalf, or you can authorize them to sign on behalf of the city, so that it is truly the city submitting it. And giving full credit to the committee coming up with the idea of the grant, but just making sure that the council is doing it and that we have a process. So if you guys think that the process can be different, or you would like it to be different, please speak up. Otherwise, we had put in the packet, there were two other, there was one resolution that existed from is it 83 or 93?
93.
93, and then there was basically a city manager order that also was from 93. And those were the two kind of pieces or the actions that were on the books. So we thought that would be important for you guys to see. Clearly, they didn't necessarily call out committees, but they weren't really, they were silent on it, but committees probably would have fallen under those. So I think what we have now is a policy in place, sort of like you just did the attendance policy. I think we can hand all these policies to our groups ahead of time so they know sort of the rules that they're supposed to be operating by.
That's great. Questions for Mr. Lindsay? I've got, did you have your hand up?
I did.
Okay, Counselor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does this include neighborhood associations?
Neighborhood associations are not advisory boards to the city, and so they are operating outside of our policies. You can, if you wanted to change the way in which you could urge them to do this through recognition. That's how we control them to a certain extent, if you want to call it that, is the way in which if they want to be recognized the next year, you can put parameters in your ordinance that says you should do this in order for us to be recognizing you. But this will not apply to them.
Okay, any other questions? So on number 3, on the process, I had a question on the term appropriate and then the term financial information. So what would make an application appropriate?
Or even inappropriate, right?
Well, that too.
I will say, this is your policy. And so I think certainly the department director would want to, follow suit with however the council is sort of thinking. That isn't always known in advance. It's clearly an ambiguous word to a certain extent, but I think appropriateness future councils might think something is more or less appropriate. So sometimes when you're trying to craft a policy, I think you want to keep the policy makers in mind. If you guys want to kind of nail down a little bit more about what you think is appropriate, that would be great. Or, we can kind of suss that out at a different time if you want to about what you think appropriateness is.
Okay.
I mean, awesome question. It's hard sometimes to sometimes you put too much specificity in something and then you kind of lose the spirit of what the body would want to do moving into the future.
Okay, and I've got a couple of tweaks I'll bring up under the deliberation to see if, just a couple of pieces that might help add a little bit of clarity, or not. Any other questions before we put the motion on the table? Council President Starr?
Okay. I move the Keizer City Council adopt resolution R2026, adopting a policy for Keizer committees, boards, and commissions desiring to apply for grants.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt resolution R2026, adopting policy for city committees, boards, and commissions desiring to apply for grants. Discussion. And I do have on the number 3, the thoughts that came to my mind were around with the appropriateness. I was thinking about our budgetary limitations, and I was thinking about match requirements. But we want to make sure that things coming forward have taken those financial obligations into consideration. And I think I would put that in there to alert the committees that those things have to be considered before they go, hey, this is a great idea, and not pay attention to those very important budgetary requirements. So I would ask to find a way to work in something about the budget or other obligations. Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that that's something that the department head would go through and would recommend and make aware to the person seeking the grant to begin with. So I don't know that needs to be added there.
I'm wondering under, quote, such consideration shall include financial information to include budgetary and match.
I think that's their decision.
I think so too.
You think it's theirs?
I think it's the department director's consideration. Mayor, I think that's what they have to consider to be appropriate. We may not know at the time that something came in under budget, and maybe if their grant does have a $500 match, maybe they have the $500 and they think that that's a fair expenditure. And so I probably wouldn't, I would leave it as it is, because I think that is under the purview of the department director.
That'd be part of the recommendation, then the council would have that information in the application. Okay.
And the staff report.
In the staff report. Yeah, I just want to make sure that as those things are coming forward, that we fully air the budget, match, and any other future obligations, because sometimes in the excitement of the moment, we might not consider all of the long-term costs or benefits that we need to think about and end up getting into something that costs more down the road. So I would want to be cautious of that. That said, thank you for doing this. I think there's a real logic here for process to make sure ultimately it comes to the council. So I appreciate that. Anything further? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Let's go to an item 9E. Resolution amending the City of Keizer Police Services fee, repealing Resolution R 2023-3376. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Your police fee task force was created on June 2nd and got underway on September 25th. It started out, gave us a direction, gave staff a direction to pull together some data and sources that they would need to make a decision, an analysis, and a recommendation to the city council. And eventually, in February, that task force made a recommendation to the full city council and recommended a tiered model based on equivalent service units. And it was extremely important to the council, such that you scheduled a work session for yourselves on Saturday, March 7th. And I believe you went about 4 hours on March 7th. You spent a lot of time looking at that, listening and debating and discussing that. And then you asked us to go to the business community and talk to them. So the chamber worked collaboratively with us to schedule a time for us, the chief and I, to present to the business community. That was on April 9th. And then we came back together on May 4th to discuss next steps. So earlier this month. And in the meantime, Mr. Wood had to prepare the budget. And so he made some assumptions. One being that this council wanted to fully fund the police department. And from our analysis and the feedback that we got from the full council was you moved away from this tiered model, but kept the ESU model. And so the number to get the police department fully funded was $1,434 beginning in January 1 of 2027. The council's discussion, you threw out a couple of different alternatives about splitting that halfway, starting it on June 30 or July 1. And then during the budget committee, a proposal request was given through the Chamber of Commerce, and they asked you if we could delay the start of it till October. So coming out of the budget committee, Mr. Wood ran the numbers, and I think it's a good compromise. We can roughly equate the target funds that we were going to get by starting it on September 1st with the halfway mark for residents at $10.62. And then the businesses paying the $6.90 per ESU. And then the full amount would be implemented on January 1, 2027. We received a correspondence today from the Chamber of Commerce requesting that the September start. So I interpreted that as they were pleased that we were able to pull it back, push it back a little bit for their members. And so the recommendation we're giving you this today is to begin the increase for residential on September 1 at $10.62 per door front. And then at that point, the ESU model would be implemented for businesses at $6.90 per ESU. And then on January 1, both residential and non-residential will go to the $14.34 per ESU or per door front for residential. This is funding the police department is one of your strategic goals, develop a long-term staffing and funding plan for the police department. So this is a direct relevance to your strategic plan. And the couple of policy things that I included in the staff report is that per door assessment so that would include duplexes, triplexes, all apartments, the adoption of the ESU model as the fairest approach towards funding, and broadly speaking, rather than the tiered model, the same rate for residential and non-residential per ESU. And then the last part was directing staff to explore the cost of going to monthly billing, which Mr. Wood gave you a rough estimate during the budget committee. We haven't honed in on an exact number yet, but it is a sizable amount to switch to monthly billing because of meter reading costs and mail and transaction costs for electronic payments. So with that, we're happy to answer questions. And I'm pleased that we could put it off to September at the business's request to delay it a little bit.
And before I go to Council President Starr, I want to note that as we're looking at work sessions, one of the ones that we are scheduling is the work session on the ESU formula, knowing that we were going to look at outliers and other modeling for what that looks like in depth. So this is a resolution that could be amended pending the work of that work session and what we decide to use, how we decide to use that data. So I just want to put that out there. Right now, looking at the schedule of work sessions, that one is landing in July. So that makes the September one even more realistic because we are going to need to sit down and do that math in the work session. So with that, I'll go to Council President Starr for a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Questions?
Yes, how did you know?
I don't know.
Mr. Brown, if a business wants to find their ESU, where are they going to find that?
Great question. I'm glad you asked it since I didn't address it. On our webpage, they can go to, we have a dedicated page for this police fee. And they can go under news and it'll be on the top 4 news items. There are a couple presentations, but I did a voiceover impression last week and posted it, and it'll walk them through exactly, here's your bill, look at this number, and it'll show the math divide it by this. And they can figure that out if they have their own bill in front of them.
Okay, because I couldn't when I looked at a business's bill, but I will go back and try to follow it again, because they asked me to look at that. How hard is it to print their ESU on their bill, rather than making them have to go do math?
Yeah, it might be easier to call us and ask, frankly, to get it, than to get it on the bill.
Okay.
So, but I will say, it may be a variation because sometimes the fees land on the landlord's bill, and it won't have a stormwater fee or a police fee on the individual tenant. Like, for instance, the Chamber of Commerce, they didn't have the stormwater fee or police fee on theirs. It showed up on the landlord's bill, and then the landlord distributes that at their will.
And then, in the staff report on item F, the very last, you laid out the different calculations and what that would, and the total revenue that would bring in. Excuse me, on item F, you say that proposal brings us close to the budget target. What is the budget target that you're wanting to get to? Like,
So the,
yeah, I just want to get that number out there because I'm not seeing where that budget.
okay, thanks, Council President. It's in item D. That would bring in $2,479,000.
Right. And then the next one is 2.829, and then the third one is 2.553.
Yes, yeah. So comparing D and F, D is what the budget was proposed upon.
Perfect.
And then F, that number gives you some of the wiggle room. When we have that work session for discounts, exemptions,
Got
and
it.
outliers.
Okay, that's what I was looking for, is the wiggle room for the budget or for the discounts and so forth.
Yeah.
And I think I just have one more.
Just one more.
Just one more. So in regards to the letter that we received today, again, from the Chamber of Commerce, again, asking us for another consideration of what we're gonna review and when. What's the feasibility of reviewing our revenue collection, implementing it on September 1, and then reviewing it in mid-November, given that we have we're billing every 2 months. Because
Yeah,
my initial reaction was, that's not gonna work, but I wanna ask because of the timing.
yeah, Council President, it's a good observation and a good thinking about it. It is going to be difficult with every other month billing to make some projections.
Okay, great.
I mean, we'll have 2 billings basically done under our belt. I mean, one for each part of the city.
One for each, right, that's
That's
okay.
something.
But we will be able to look at, maybe, we'll have 2 each by the time we go into looking at the January 1. So I think my request would be if we could calendar a review of that.
We already did. Before we initiate.
Yeah, before we initiate on the January 1. Can we look at that like in, December?
Yes.
Like the late December meeting or whatever date that is. I don't have a calendar, so, okay, thank you.
So we have, if I may, we have 2 options. One, mid-November, our work session is the Long Range Planning Task Force. So staff will be bringing some of those numbers to us, again, very preliminary. In December, we do a work session that's a council goal conclusion and handoff to the new council, because that will be after the election, which would be a great time then to have all of the council together as we're getting ready for that conversation. And so the new council will get the handoff from the existing council, and that can be part of that conversation. So yes and yes.
Yay.
We have on the list. Any other questions? Councilor Duran.
I guess this is for Mr. Brown. Have you guys looked at how how this is gonna look for the per door billing? Because there's like duplexes that only get one bill. Is the other address gonna get a bill, or is it gonna be two billings on one bill for those two doors?
That's something we need to figure out. I think we also need to do an audit of that. And so we'll see what data we have on hand to do the audit first. And then we might need to actually drive the places where we don't know of. But we haven't discussed whether we are going to put it on the same bill or both. It might be a mixture based on the landlord, whether there's two owners or two renters, or if you have one owner that rents to the other. So there could be a mixture of ways. We just need to talk our way through that.
But that was my, it could be a toss-up of which way would work best, but
Yeah.
either way, there's gonna be some confusion by some or one of the members of a duplex or even an ADU or things like that. Typically an ADU is under the same ownership, but, so if it went by address and there was a renter in the ADU, there could be some confusion in that, so that's.
Mr. Witham?
I was just going to say, with residential housing specifically, if there's separate ownership, there would have been a land use process and a lot creation. So that would create a utility account essentially, because longstanding practice in Keizer is one water meter per lot, which creates one account per lot. So most duplexes, triplexes, quads, that's one bill. So just as far as the ownership goes. So I mean, I do think we have some building permit data that can help put that together. I think Mr. Wood and I kind of briefly talked about that after the budget hearings and some of the discussion of, how are we going to figure that out? So, but just to clarify, the ownership is based on properties, not necessarily what the structure looks like.
Thank you for that clarification. Appreciate it. Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One of my concerns is somebody all of a sudden gets a bill from the city and it's a police fee and they need to pay this and they're going, I've never gotten this before. There's no dying way I'm paying this. How do we address those kind of issues?
I'm paying it till now. Mr. Brown? Oh, I see what you're talking about, yeah.
There needs to be two parts to that. One is process-wise, but first, communication plan to try to get it as far-reaching as we can. And we'll look at all our means available, whether that's through our bills, through which probably a lot of you are like me and never see your bill. But social media, bills, we could maybe even use our mass alert notification system. So we'll come up with a plan for information push over between now and September 1, so that it's not a shock. So.
You, Councilor Guptill?
Thank you. I just had a quick question. So I know that in the past meeting, you guys had talked about that it's kind of frustrating to have to pay the bill like that we have right now every other month, and sometimes like it's easy to miss. So with like changing this, would they also be able to change it so it's every month, so the fee doesn't look quite as big? I don't know. That was just a thought.
No, it's a very good thought. And Mr. Wood, looking at it as reading it accurately every month and going to more meter reading was very expensive. What hasn't been talked about is averaging, where you take 1 month and then you can try to average the bill. So it might be more of a calculation thing than actual meter reading. So there are a lot of options out there that haven't really been looked at yet, because you're right, there's a lot of people who would like to just pay this or close to the same thing every month.
every single person I've talked to.
And for me, for my budgeting, it doesn't matter, but I'm just one example. So anyway, Mr. Wood.
Just back of the napkin, I'm still working on refining the analysis, but we're already up to about $300,000 a year, just to go to monthly billing. Some of the bigger costs that would be driving this is meter, to read the meter, it's about $1 a meter every time they look at it, so that instantly doubles. The other is the online bill pay, credit card transaction fees. Those are about $1 a payment as well. So those right there alone were about 150,000, and we haven't even started talking about postage, printing, staff time. Like I say, my back of the napkin has us at about 300,000, but I'm still accumulating costs.
So, let me finish my one more and I'll go back to you. Some utilities do kind of averaging, so it's not like the every other bill is not precise. It's paying some of it, so it's spreading it out over 2 months. So I understand the credit card fees, absolutely. And it could be available just for online bill pay people. So I would just encourage looking at maybe bill averaging as an opportunity for being able to accommodate a monthly, and it might have a lower cost, just a thought. But I've never done your job, so I'm not going to tell you how to do it. Counselor Christopher.
I like that idea a lot. I had thought about it myself and thought, aren't the credit card fees a percentage?
They are a percentage, but there's also, well, there's two components. There's a flat transaction amount, and also a percentage that goes along with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question, though.
Okay.
They're doing double whammy.
They are.
So, yeah, every time you turn around. All right, lots of really good ideas, and some of this we can also continue to discuss when we're looking at the calculations at our work session in July. And they'll give Tim maybe a little bit of breathing room with some other creative options as well, because I happen to know that our entire ELT is very creative. Anything further before we put the motion on the table? Council President Starr.
I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R2026, amending the City of Keizer Police Services fee and repeat.
Sorry.
Keep going.
And repealing Resolution R2023-3376.
Now.
It's after 9 o'clock.
It's okay.
Second.
There we go.
Wait.
Mayor, may I interrupt really fast?
Mr. Lindsay.
I know we have had the ability for people to speak up this whole time, but
Yep, I
before you
forgot.
pass this, can we allow just one more if anybody wants to be heard on this because it is a fee?
Thank you very much, and I didn't look at my script, so thank you for tagging me on this. I would ask anybody here in the audience who would like to comment on this resolution, please feel free to come forward at this time. You are warmly welcomed, even though it's past 9 o'clock. All right, nobody's rushing to the front. Thank you for that reminder, Mr. Lindsay. And anything further? Under deliberation?
Yep, you got one right here.
Okay, Councilor
Would you accept
Christopher.
a friendly amendment that says we will review this, even though the mayor said it, but I want it in the motion that we'll review the need for the need for the fees beginning January 1, the last meeting in December. Is that when it was, the last meeting in December?
That is correct. I accept. No, sorry, I thought I was.
It's not
It's
after
past 9 o'clock.
Would you accept that as a
Would you
friendly
accept?
amendment?
You want me to put an ask to calendar something in the motion?
Yeah, I want to say that we will review the need for moving forward with the second adjustment in January, in
Gotcha.
December.
Can we do this separate motion?
You can if she doesn't accept it.
I mean, I'll accept it, but I also just want staff to know I trust you that you would calendar and bring
But
back
let's
the
get-
review.
let's get it-
So, I mean, I'll
get it in the
accept the
motion.
friendly amendment.
Okay. Is there any, I'm gonna go Mr. Lindsay and I'll ask for objection.
You can either make a separate motion or you can literally just ask us from the dais too, because it will.
Which is what I
then-
just did.
Yeah.
I know, I just want it, when it's reported out, I want it to be a part, I want
Oh,
the folks
trust
to
me,
trust.
I will not forget.
Well, none of
I
us
have the
will.
memory of an elephant.
None of us will, but I would like that,
There's
that
nobody in this
assurance.
Yeah, there's nobody in this, yeah, I would agree that this is something that we will continue to discuss and work on.
So
And
it's
we've already
chicken soup.
calendared it for our long-range planning task force, and we've calendared it for the end of biennium meeting in December.
Great.
So we've already done that through consensus.
Okay, Dan, you
So-
good?
Any objection to that change?
All right,
No objection to the change.
let's go.
So it is as amended. Anything further? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. It is past 9 o'clock. We need a motion to extend the meeting.
I move to extend the meeting to address
Item F.
the item F and the remainder of the agenda.
Yeah, because we need to go over agenda input.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to extend the meeting to conclude the agenda. Counselor Christopher?
No, I was gonna put time limit, but there's just not hardly anything left. We're okay.
And postpone the executive session.
Yeah, can we postpone that? Okay, yes, I do
Stand by.
have something.
Can we deal with the first one
Let's deal with
first?
this first. Is it related to this,
It is.
the rest of the agenda? Counselor Christopher?
Garrett had sent us something in the mail today.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And it said, why don't we extend getting both of those performance evaluations done by June 30th? I would love to propose that.
So press pause. Let's finish this, then we'll come to that.
But, okay.
Because we have to extend the agenda or we're done.
We're not even on that yet.
Wait,
Yeah.
Okay.
question?
Counselor Cross?
Are we just extending to finish F, right?
Yeah,
I
well,
said
and
the
the-
entire, I said to
So we
finish
need to
the,
do staff updates?
yes.
Yes. And we got to do the agenda input because we have to
But-
schedule out those,
But we're probably going to not have an executive session. We'll kick that.
all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed signify by saying no.
No.
Motion passes 5-2. Okay, let's go to item 9F.
Where you going?
City manager.
Oh, no, fine, thank you. I love America.
Shall we
Thank
continue?
you. Madam Mayor and council members, the city attorney has this item for you at your request.
Mr. Lindsay?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. So I was asked at the last meeting to make sure and bring this back in staff report form only for the purposes of discussion. You have heard me say this a couple of different times just during my own staff updates, but the idea here is this city council currently on the books has a charter section 7.1 that says that city elections must conform either to state law, except as this charter or ordinances provide otherwise. So you have the ability to either follow state law or follow some ordinances you have. We currently don't have any ordinances. And so when the question came up earlier about should we ever put an ordinance on that would allow for advisory opinions, the state itself doesn't do, state law doesn't allow for advisory opinions to be referred to the electors. It only allows what are called legislative enactments. So it basically has to be an ordinance. So in the past, an example that I think works because people remember it, there was an ordinance that was passed for the library levy. And then because that was a legislative enactment, you could refer it directly to the people and say, this won't become law unless it passes by the vote of the people. For advisory opinions, there isn't that mechanism just baked right into state law, although it's allowed and other cities do it. And so I've even found other cities that have done this. They sometimes ask advisory questions that I think are appropriate, like, should you put fluoride in the water? You know, that is actually an advisory opinion. Okay. But I mean, all right, well, I don't mean to rattle anybody's cage tonight. Sorry, it's past 9. But I mean, so this is a tool that some cities have used. It's valid under state law as long as you have a charter that allows for your own ordinances, and then you have your own ordinance. So if you ever want to be able to have that tool, you could direct me to bring an ordinance back that allows for advisory opinions that you could then go to.
Just a generic ordinance.
Just a generic one,
Okay.
if you want. And so, you can discuss that and figure out if that's part of the timing of this. If you look on page 59 of the packet, spells out if you were to ever want this, for a particular question in conjunction with the upcoming general election, that's the timeline for that. But if there isn't a huge concern for that, then, whenever we get it done, then it will be on the books for you to be able to do that. Usually you do them before general elections, or make sure they're in the books before general elections, because then we don't have to pay for it. But, so those are some of the timing issues.
So I've got one follow-up question. I know Councilor Christopher has a question. So when we did the one for library, we had a resolution or ordinance that we passed, and we put in there that was subject to being referred to the voters.
Yeah.
So that ordinance then allowed that to go onto the ballot, and it had an actual outcome, depending on how the vote went. In that case, it went down. Therefore, that ordinance was not enacted.
Yeah.
So we already have that. It's just per occurrence basis. Correct?
Yeah, there's that tool already in your toolbox. And then there's the tool that if people went out and gathered enough signatures, they could also refer it to themselves. So those things exist under the state election law already. What doesn't exist explicitly is this idea of non-binding advisory votes. And so that's, if you wanted one of those, you'd have to put your own ordinance on your books. And it wouldn't offend our charter if we did that.
Councilor Christopher.
So what are the cons? Why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we give ourselves as much flexibility in the future? Like you said, I don't know what potential future councils will deal with. I don't know. But why wouldn't we give ourselves an additional tool?
The few I can think of is just if you really wanted to know a question came up, and then there was a monetary component to it because you didn't want to wait around for the general. That would be one con. But I guess another con could just be purely political, and everything you guys do probably has pros and cons, right? Because sometimes just the ability to ask questions doesn't presuppose that you're going to ask a good one. So, it could be a potentially, awkward con that if you go out to the population, it just makes them mad. But in general, it's another tool in your toolbox.
Follow up?
Follow up.
How many Oregon cities have the ability or have done this?
I'm not sure, but I've found a couple that I know for sure have done it, because I was looking to see how they structured it too, so.
Does Salem have it?
That's a good question. I think I looked and I could not find that. I think it was like Hillsborough and Gresham and some, Portland has it, I believe.
Of course, Portland.
Yeah. So, but I've heard of other cities, well, Wilsonville did it, for their, industrial park or something. So I was looking around to see how people had done it. So.
Well, anyway, you'll bring examples, so forth. Any other questions? So there's a couple of cities that have done it, different types of formats, different types of outcomes, different parameters about what questions they want to be able to ask. But if we want to put out something to a vote now, we already can. On any issue, we pass the ordinance. That's what Shannon walked us through when we did the library. Pass the ordinance, put that in there, put it on the ballot, and that was that. So we already have that part of the tool.
But would you have to ask a money question?
Do we?
No, it
don't.
has to be a legislative enactment, which is basically acting as your legislative hat. So passing a law or rule that applies to everybody. So.
Like the aforementioned.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a tax, it can be, you could refer like a leash law, I guess.
Would it
You know what I
be-
mean? Like,
Would it be a legislative enactment if we put something on the ballot that said, we have enacted a fee, and we think that the fee based on ESUs is the most fair and equitable way to do it. The other option to that would be a levy. Would that be a legislative action, asking what the preference is, one or the other?
no, because that's just purely seeking advice.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. That's right. Okay.
So
So where do we go from here?
If the council wants to,
See what an ordinance.
direct me to craft one to see if they want to think about it for the next meeting, I can have something in front of you if we want.
Counselor Christopher.
I would like to put a motion on the table that would direct Joe to put together an ordinance to see what it looks like, to see if that's something that we want to enact, based on a generic advisory vote ordinance. Do we need to have a motion on that? Can we do that by consensus?
But she already did it.
I already did it. I just need a second.
Second.
There's the
Moved and
second.
seconded that the Keizer City Council direct staff to come back with an ordinance
To see what we think.
regarding advisory votes. So, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. No. Motion passes 6-1.
Okay. Now what?
Okay, other business, this time is allowed for the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. City manager, do you have other business?
I do not have any other business, Madam Mayor and Council.
Okay, what? Oh, I can't tell. All right, thank you. I'm sorry, I was getting distracted. Okay, so nothing from, and city council, any other business tonight?
Yep. I'm sorry, I already put it off last time. Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I would like to bring up, a lot of things that we've talked about with the neighborhood associations and their budgets have been cut. And I'd like to talk about potentially, amending is it a resolution or an ordinance that,
What governs the neighborhood associations is their ordinance.
it's an ordinance. So I'd like to talk about, bringing back some edits to that ordinance, and here's what they are. I think that it was, what caused me to do this was the way that Greater Northeast Keizer has so many of their folks zooming in. Here's the part that I think is inconsistent with the way that the other neighborhood associations manage their business, and that's why I brought that up tonight. I would like to add that all neighborhood, for recognition, all neighborhood associations must meet here at the Civic Center for safety and security, but also for consistency. But that we would allow use of the owl so that as many folks as wanted to could owl in. I don't want to say zoom in, but they could owl in. That's our method of allowing folks to attend a meeting when they're unable to do so. So I like the consistency of allowing all the neighborhood associations, and that might result in us having to buy another owl. But I think that Tammy is onto something, but I like that it is safe, secure, and consistent that all meetings take place at a public place, but that folks can call in, number one. Number two, again, Northeast Keizer Neighborhood Association has a Facebook page, but you have to friend in. And the other neighborhood associations, you can just follow. And I think that you would grow even more if that was not required. And I think for recognition, again, consistency, it should be a public page and follow only. Last, quarter expenses. I think that all the neighborhood associations should turn in their expenses at least quarterly and not wait for the entire year to get that together. I understand she doesn't want to deal with all the receipts, and I get all that, but the other neighborhood associations do it. So for consistency, it would be good if they all did it at least quarterly. And I don't know if you do it monthly or how you do it, but maybe we say, turn your expenses in quarterly. So those are the three changes I'd like us to consider for recognition of neighborhood associations.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
What we have been doing with the neighborhood associations is meeting with them to update the ordinance, and we've done it collaboratively. These are three changes that I think we need to have conversation with the neighborhood associations, so I would ask that this be a work session with them. I know we do it on an annual basis, we might just have to do it sooner, but we have a whole year before recognition, so this isn't.
I don't want to wait a year.
Fine, but then we've got to work it in, because I really feel we need to talk to the neighborhood associations and hear from them on these. Because we talked with them on everything else, let's hear from them.
What does everybody think? I mean, I think it's safety, security, and consistency. And that's in order to get our tax dollars. They don't have to do any of these things. But in order to get recognition and receive tax dollars, I don't think it's a discussion. I think that we need to do these things. I think that we need to be policymakers and set policy on how these Zoom meetings are taking place and happening. And I think the OWL, let them use the same thing we use. But I'd be open to hear what everybody else has to say.
I'm gonna go Mr. Lindsay. then I'll
Thank
ask
you.
the rest
So
of the group.
I will say this, I know I owe you guys from the joint session, I owe you guys a few of those changes to come in an ordinance.
These
And
changes?
there is a change in there that sort of matches what you're saying. There was a line that said something about like meet in a city suggested manner that that allows for ADA accommodation.
There you
And
go.
so we had already put in that change coming up, and I owed that to you, but what we've been doing is we ran out of some of the money to publicize our ordinances, and so we were literally waiting until the June, when all this other busy stuff wasn't happening, to bring some of those ordinances up, those changes, because then we'll have money to publicize them starting in July.
So we could add
And
these
so-
to it?
So I can bring forward what changes there were from that last joint session, so you can see those and see if, so that we're not making something out of, completely out of left field, that you guys actually worked together and made those changes. So we could bring that next meeting as well.
So I guess I would like to make a motion that's great, that's super helpful. I would like to make a motion that these three items are included in the updates that we've already asked Joe for, and that includes quarter expenses turned in at least quarterly. They can turn them in monthly if they want to. No friend pages to opt in. They have to do follow pages, public pages, and all meetings at the Civic Center, but we would extend use of the OWL so that folks can call in, Joe. That's probably the piece that wasn't there. But
I think it just said city suggested manner with
is that
ADA, with
enough to
ADA
say that they
compliance.
could use the OWL?
Well, and you guys can discuss that, but I can bring
Great.
those changes and and then
We
we
don't
can
have a
amend it from
second
there.
yet.
I know. So I need a second.
Stand by.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to add.
That all meetings take place at the Civic Center?
I need it, please.
Wow. Oh, good
I'm
luck.
supposed to read it in.
It's my typical notes.
It's this one, and this one.
Thank you.
Oh, here. Are yours better?
Okay.
Here.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council
He's got
direct
better
staff
ones.
to add to the draft ordinance for the neighborhood associations, expense guidelines to turn them in quarterly, no friend Facebook pages, and to meet at the Civic Center and be granted use of the OWL.
Very good. Great.
Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I need educated here. If we grant use of the OWL, is that automatically the same as Zoom?
It is not.
So so help me understand, I see the owl up here at times. And we also have people that I see in the square Zoom boxes down here.
Yeah, the,
Mr. Brown.
Madam Mayor, Council President Starr, the OWL still needs a meeting platform, whether that's Teams or Zoom
okay.
or
What do we use?
any other. Zoom.
Okay.
But if, yeah, it can run off of any platform, Teams or Zoom or whatever.
Go to meeting, all of those.
Those are kind of go-to meeting, yeah.
Okay. So that'll work.
And there are some free platforms out there too that I've used over the years.
Well, whatever we use is what we should extend for them having the meetings here.
Counselor Parsons.
Will this take any staff time to do something like that?
Some, I mean, yeah, I mean, it'll take some, but not an inordinate amount.
'Cause they're already setting
Especially,
They're already setting up.
I mean, I used it for the first time and it was really plug and play, the OWL. So if they already know how to use their meeting platform, then it's pretty simple. So maybe up front, but generally, I'll talk about a place where we can store it, where the leaders of the neighborhood associations can grab it out of a closet or something, but,
Lily
yep.
had said,
Counselor?
it could take another 5 to 10 minutes.
Thank you. I was going to actually go to Counselor Duran.
Sorry.
Could they use a Zoom a meeting platform that we have here? So that would eliminate them having to purchase a platform?
Great.
Yeah, I
Security.
don't think they can use the city Zoom account. That would probably violate our terms of use.
Can we buy a neighborhood association
That's what I was gonna say.
account?
Could we do that where it would be one that could be shared by the neighborhood
The
associations?
5, could they have one Zoom account for all 5?
I guess we'd have to look at the terms of use for Zoom and just see. I know some of them, I think, Greater Northeast pays for their own.
But they're paying 5 times.
But yeah, so each one's paying for one if they're gonna use Zoom. So if we have one account that they can all use, that would limit the cost that they're spending out of their limited or lowered yearly
Yeah,
allotment.
I might need Joe's help to look at the terms of use and policy, so.
Yeah, we'll have to see what we can figure out with that company.
Well,
Great.
and we may not want to restrict it to Zoom. I'm just thinking about a platform because Teams is more secure.
That's a great idea, too.
And maybe that would be a suggestion by staff.
Yeah, and I did say too, there's some free platforms out there. I used one, I've had an account with freeconferencecall.com for like 18 years, and
So,
it's free.
Okay.
Hence, freeconferencecall.com.
Open for suggestions.
Yeah.
Counselor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that we have an expert in one of the neighborhood associations. I think a good consultation with Griffin Walker would probably answer the best way to do that.
Great one.
Go Griffin.
So with that, one of the reasons that I'm going to vote no is because I would really like to go back and have the conversation, bring them back in, and talk this through, just like we did with the changes to the ordinance that we're making. Yes, I know these feel perfunctory, but I want to hear from the different associations what their experience is, and then make decisions together. That's how we've been doing it. We've been doing it in teamwork, and I don't want to be telling them, I don't want to leave them out of the decision-making here, so I'm going to be a no. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So what would preclude this coming back to when Joe brings back what he was bringing from our work session, and these are in there? What would preclude our making a point to make sure our neighborhood association chairs or the boards are here and having the conversation with them like they typically do when we have we invite public comment for other items that are on the agenda. We just have them wait until the item is on the agenda, and then we can ask them when they're here. I mean, we do that already for other things, so I'm curious what would preclude us from doing that on this agenda item when it comes back from Mr. Lindsay.
I think that's exactly the way to do it.
Counselor Parsons?
I think since we give the neighborhood association city money, that I think we can require them to turn the receipts quarterly. But I'm not gonna tell them they have to use the owl, and I'm not gonna.
They don't have to.
Just, Counselor Parsons has the floor.
I'm just saying is, I agree with the budget thing, and I think we just can do that without saying anything to them. I mean, well, we can email them or whatever, but it's our money that we're giving them, and in order for us to pass a budget to give them money, we need to see what they're spending it on, right? And we need to see that they're spending it. I don't know why they would disagree with that, but that's the only one I agree with.
Okay.
Even so from my understanding on social media, when an organization has a page, you like or follow the page. Anybody can do that. That gives anybody the ability to see it. When you have a friend page, you have to ask to be a friend. And until you're accepted as a friend, you don't have access to what's on that page. I don't see, from my perspective, that that's as inclusive as having an organizational or an entity, quote, page where everybody, you just like and follow, and then anybody can see what's on there. So that's where I
guess I'm just a little confused how we would word that per se, because again, that is their page. They opt to make one.
But that's not a page. It's an account versus a page. And I would defer to Mr. Lindsay to come up with the wording on how we do that, because to me, that's an access and an inclusivity, right?
And
because
consistency, all the others are follow.
Our pages.
I have a suggested friendly amendment on that the social media communications for the neighborhood associations be publicly accessible. That takes the branding off. It just says, make it available, because next year, all of the meta stuff may change, and if we get specific in our ordinance, we've boxed ourselves in, but we say that is available, and it's publicly available, then that's gonna solve the problem without being specific.
I would prefer to leave it to Mr. Lindsay as the attorney to help us navigate that one.
Yeah, I just don't want to be
rather than-
specific to, I don't want to be specific.
Sometimes we have to be, though.
Yeah. All right, anything further? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying no. No. Motion passes 6-1. All right. Any other business? Okay. Staff updates, anything urgent after we spent a lot of time last week? Looking around. Lieutenant Wenning.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only thing I've got is to just let everybody know that after a two-year hiatus, our blast camp is back and registration opens Wednesday.
Oh, nice. Oh, are you, okay.
Date?
Say again?
How long? 1 day?
The blast camp or the registration?
Blast camp.
Blast camp is going to be June 29th, 30th, and July 1st.
No.
And gonna be held where?
It's going to be held at Clacker Creek Middle School.
Thank you.
And are you gonna send us something so that we can push it out?
Once we get the registration open, yes, I can have our executive assistant send a flyer out.
Great.
That we've drafted and have ready, just have not pushed it out quite yet.
That is so great.
Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Lieutenant Winnie. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. What is the age group?
Students entering 4th grade through 6th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Council updates. Councilor Duran, anything? Okay. Councilor Christopher,
What?
any updates?
Full updates?
Oh, no, bad weekend, busy. Art fair.
Good
Keizer
weekend.
Fest.
I was gonna say, bad
It was not a
weekend?
bad weekend.
It was
a good
great.
weekend.
It was great. It was super great.
And windy.
And 12 hours a day.
Council President Starr.
I have nothing.
Councilor Cross.
I would just encourage everyone to check out all of the great events for Memorial Day that are out there at the World War II and Restlawn, and, yeah, be a great day of celebration.
And down by the Capitol.
Yes, down by the Capitol, just go celebrate.
I love America.
I love America.
Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a couple of things. I appreciate the opportunity to do a quick council member report because there's a lot of things I haven't been able to say anything about because we haven't had time, but
Say them really fast.
the memorials, Material Management Advisory Council, the Garbage Committee. We've had a lot of fun with that. I've attended all those meetings. There's a lot of progress is being made. I've sent a copy of the recycling flyer to Ms. Bissett and asked her to put it on the city webpage. And so did you know that the cap on the jug, the bottle the jug of milk, you cannot recycle unless it screws on. If it doesn't screw on, you can't recycle it, you need to put it in the trash. They brought a big pile of stuff and said, can you recycle this, can you not? And none of us really knew, and so.
You're a master recycler.
It's a freaking mess. Okay, 5/20 is Eliza Doolittle Day, I know you need to know that. McNary Band took first at state, yay. Keizer Community Dinner's 5/27. Soggy Day at the Parks this Saturday, and go and vote, drop your ballot in a box, don't mail it.
You're here. Councilor Parsons.
I just have one thing to say. I want to thank the chamber for a great job, Keizer Fest. It was amazing, and we have the new Iris picture, and Dan, I think, already hung it in the hallway, so go check it out.
The other Dan.
Oh, the other Dan.
All right, a couple things.
No, that flower was from last year.
Yeah, so,
When can we postpone it?
okay, stand by.
Okay.
Two more things. Two more things. Like him, I've got a bit of a backlog. So, just a couple things on the SEDCOR Economic Summit. There was a lot of great information, but things that I want to make you all aware of is they gave a lot of great data on local employment, which really affects our neighborhoods and our families. Talking about the loss of multi-generational homes is creating more social isolation and fractionalization. We've really got to watch the legislation coming through that keeps on making small houses that are pushing families apart. And Oregon was number 3 in the nation on job loss in 2025. Yay, Oregon. But on the good side, Wilco ribbon cutting and grand opening, huge thank you to Keizer Fire and City of Keizer staff who partnered to help them do a 23-day turnaround, keys to ribbon cutting. That was tremendous. And they hired the managers and almost all the staff from Cascade Outdoor. That's a plus and a grand slam. Want to also, the If I Were Mayor contest committee met, and congratulations to Keizer's essay winner, Michelle Ashanimura took 3rd in state. So I'll be making a presentation at Whitaker Middle School at her request. And then I went to the Marion County Community Meeting in Silverton, sponsored, co-sponsored by the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments and SEDCOR. The speaker was PGE CEO Maria Pope, talking about Oregon reindustrialization, modernization, and especially economic development in some of our very poor and rural communities that will make a huge difference for our rural areas, but also for the Mid-Willamette Valley, and had great information on where Oregon, at least some areas of Oregon, are trying to go, like Keizer is. However, when Louisiana and Mississippi have passed this up because of our economic growth ambivalence, we've got work to do. Finally, I went to the Crystal Apple Awards. 2 of the honorees, McNary High School teachers, Stephanie Lassiter, Marcus Luther, they rocked it.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to them. Okay, everybody's playing with their phones. All right, real quick.
Yes, now?
Agenda.
You've officially lost it.
Now? Now, Mayor, do I make the motion now?
No, because I'm gonna give you the list of the work sessions you wanted to know, here you go. So, because you want to do the other work session, this is what we already have planned. June 8th, multimodal committee, joint work session. June 29th, we're gonna take that 5th Monday to do the event center pricing and policy update that we've all been asking for. July 13th, we're gonna do the ESU modeling work session. August 10th, we're going to do the League of Oregon Cities policy and legislative priorities because those have to be turned in September. And so we'll go over those. August 31st could be, that's not scheduled, it's the 5th Monday, it's right at the end of summer. It's, if y'all want to do that, because we promised the work session on fluoride, and we also just said we wanted to do a work session on what? What was it? Oh, permanently, it's after 9. There was another one that we wanted to schedule. Then September 14th is the Parks Tour. October 12th is the UGB, so we can meet that short-term goal. November 9th, Long Range Planning Task Force. November 30th is the 5th Monday if we need one. And December 14th will be the biennial council transition and goals wrap-up. So if you're wondering what's happening, that's the one. That's the one. So we already have that scheduled, and we already, like 2 biennia ago, we started doing this, so we'd have a good handoff from outgoing council to incoming council and closure on the short-term goals. So that's what's coming up, and if we need to do, we do have 2 5th Mondays if we need them. That's the August 31st and November 30th, if you really, really, really need one. Councilor Duran.
It was the turf fields that
That was it.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Okay.
staff over here just told me.
Thank you. So the first gap,
Swap with LOC?
no, it has to be, oh, wait, well,
It's a deadline though, Ella.
yeah, it is. I don't know what the deadline is.
Yeah, it's going to be in August.
Yeah,
But there may be a meeting that we could double up, have 2 topics
What, one?
on.
Well, LOC, I bet that's a quick one.
Yeah, what,
it wasn't last time.
usually I let you vote before I give you an online platform to vote.
Yeah.
And then,
But
so,
if we're time constrained on this one, we could double up with June 29th, take an
Yes.
hour on the one and an hour on the other.
We should do that as soon as.
Do you think that that could work, thinking of the content? So we do an hour, take a break, and do another, the other hour?
Yes.
Yes.
June 29th?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, turf field,
Yes.
yes,
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to cancel my vacation.
really? So you said, hey, let's do this, and you're like, bye? Fantastic. All right. We are scheduled for an executive session. It is late. Is there any objection?
Motion?
I don't think we need to.
Well, I'd like
Or
to
do
make
we?
a motion that we have ourselves, that we change the date due
Oh,
for
that's right.
performance evaluations to be June 30th. So that buys us another 5 weeks, and then we can get it scheduled and take care of both of them. It does nobody any good for us to rush through these.
Because it's a time, there already is a timeline built in.
There's a timeline built in, it
So
had to
we
be
have
done by
We have
June
to,
1.
right,
So we
right.
have to
And
do
so we've
it.
got to extend it to June
Yeah.
30th. And Garrett said he'd already talked with Adam and Joe, and they're fine with that. Then you know what that does for next year? You don't have all this crap happening at budget. I don't mean crap, I didn't mean that crap. I meant important meetings for our employees.
So I would entertain a motion to suspend the rule, take up the matter of changing the timeline for the city manager and city attorney evaluations.
Madam Mayor, I move to suspend the rules to take up the matter of the,
No? No. Mr. Cleaver?
Mayor and City Council, this is a contractual piece of the city manager and city attorney contract, which does require mutual agreement. Again, they look to both contracted employees. Sounds like they are good with it, but that does require just a little bit of procedure of actually amending the contract and getting signatories by all the parties.
Oh,
So-
we can't do it.
well, Ian, you've completed the evaluation, you just haven't spoken with us by, at least for mine, and I
Yes, we've got.
think by the end
got yours done.
We've managed
the
to
month.
get yours done.
No, I had both mine done. I did mine.
So,
I have both mine done.
so I think you meet the obligation of the contract, but to move the date, we need to bring back a contract amendment for Joe
All
and
right.
I.
Okay, let's do it
So
for the next
let's,
meeting.
so everybody get your homework done?
Yeah, we can. I got it.
Counselor Christopher? Yeah.
Yeah, we can now.
All right,
I
get your
can go on
homework
the record
done.
and say I'm not going to cause a stink if you change it to June.
June 30th.
June 30th.
Yes,
I withdraw the motion.
all right. Motion's withdrawn. We will then look to Mr. Cleaver to walk us through the necessary steps to make that happen, going forward. Okay.
Isn't that great?
So is this. It's 9:55. We are adjourned.
I had it